Nick, you muted your mic somehow. That's amazing. What a start.
What?
I don't know how you did that.
I wasn't muted. The message wasn't for you guys. The message was for them. They know who they are.
Playing that game, huh? You speaking directly to Jurgen Klopp, telling him how to figure things out?
I gave a very clear message to Jurgen Klopp 2.5 seconds ago. If you didn't hear it, that's because it's like the magic bell. It's like the magic bell on the Polar Express. The smarmy adults who no longer believe can't hear the magic of the bell that rings, and all of us who do believe can hear it. So if you heard my message, then you know that this is the first show of 2021, and we are so pleased that you're joining us. Mouth South, John Nelson, the Godfather Jason Longshore, and of course, it is I, the Garlic Bread Warlord Nick Leafy, and it is soccer over there. We have a show. I can't guarantee everything that's going to be in it, but there will probably be angry people on the Twitch pitch. There may be angry people out in the greater soccer universe. Certainly some angry people down in Miami, which I'm A-okay with.
Oh, boy.
And, well, Jason, where do we want to pick it up, man?
Well, we got to start with the game from today. I mean, it's got to be the fact that the defending champs have not won in 3, and they didn't even get a point today like they had been getting. They lost to Southampton 1-0. And our friend Profe Hasenhüttl was very emotional afterwards. Yes. I mean, I know he looks up to Klopp. He was very proud of his group. It's a huge win. I mean, it puts them into the race fully now, and you've got 7 teams separated by 4 points at the top of the table.
Yep. Hey, who's the team in currently second in the Premier League?
That would be Manchester United.
Oh, you mean that team that everybody seems to want the manager fired and moved on and kicked out and booted? He's where again in the table?
Second. He's actually level on points, yes. And they've got a game in hand, too, over the team that's ahead of them.
Wow, that's wild. Wild how that works.
Yeah.
Wanting to fire a successful manager, that's crazy.
And they've won 4 of their last 5, and they're unbeaten in their last 5.
Just saying.
Interesting. Just go ask any self-respecting Tennessee fan what happens when you yell and scream for a coach to be fired. What can happen?
Derek Dooley. Enough said.
Yeah. There you go. Well, so guys, what are we thinking for Liverpool here? Is it how much of this is just them being found out? How much of it is the short off season finally catching up with them? How much of it is schedule compression and English media and God knows what other excuses are going to get trotted out? But
injuries. I mean,
injuries at the
definitely
back.
Injuries defensively have been an issue. But you look at these last couple of games. So today, you had the possession. Teams are going to sit back on you now. That's the reality that Jurgen Klopp has had to face. 68% of the possession, that's typical these days. 17 shots, 1 on target. It's not about shooting. It's not about taking shots. You had 1 on target. Mm-hmm. That's been more of the story for me looking at their recent games, is they've had the ball, they've had opportunities, they're not putting shots on target. I mean, they're not giving up a bunch of goals. Like, that is an issue. Defensively, there are questions because you've got everybody injured, it seems like, at center back. Jordan Henderson at center back today because that's what you had to do. You've only given up 2 goals in the last 3, but you've only got 2 points in the last 3. It's more the attack for me. 1 shot on target today and a loss. What'd you have against Newcastle? Let's see. You had 4 shots on target. Not too bad, but only 1 in the second half. Mm-hmm. Game before that with Big Sam, his big result that was going to get everything going for West Brom, you had 2 shots on target. It's just, it's not enough. And is it just one of those things that happens to teams where, I mean, the West Brom game is another one. You had 17 shots. But in those 2, the West Brom and the Southampton games, 34 shots combined, 3 on target. Is it just one of those things that you're hitting a rough patch and the ball's not finding the back of the net and you play through? Is it, as Bernd Durstberger points out in the Twitch pitch, is it because you're not as dangerous on set pieces as you used to be? Virgil van Dijk, kind of a good target and finding some goals on those set pieces. You don't have that element either. I've noticed the shots on target. That's the number one thing that's jumped out at me. I haven't studied each of these games, but their attack does not feel like it is flowing at the moment. And teams are going to give them the opportunity to beat them at this point. They're not going to allow themselves to be beaten easily. They're going to make Liverpool work for it, and right now, it's not working.
I've just, for me, it's a combination of things, but I was sitting here trying to do math quickly about shots and shots on target. So in the last 3 matches, 45 shots, 7 on target. So for me, that lends itself to offense. Obviously, I add into it the injuries at the back. And I look at schedule compression. And so for me, it's a bunch of things. But right now, what's 7 over 45? That's 7 over 42 is 16%. 7 over 49. So you're looking at 15% of your shots in your last 3 matches are on target. So, I mean, for me, that's number one, but you also add in all those other factors here, injuries at the back, schedule compression, festive fixtures, all that other kind of stuff. So I think it is a bunch of things, but at the top of the ladder is not enough shots on target, not enough stuff, obviously, in the back of the net, when in your last 3 matches, you've only scored once in the 7 shots that have been on target. And you were going up against you were going up against West Brom, you're going up against Newcastle, and then obviously a better Southampton side than those two combined, probably. But it's a bunch of things right now, and it ain't pretty.
You want to hear Jurgen Klopp's thoughts?
Yes.
This is one of the things he had to say after the match.
We cannot change it. I heard now that Man United had more penalties in 2 years since Order is there than I had in 5.5 years. I have no idea if it's my fault or I don't know how that can happen. But that's no excuse for the performance.
Did you play Manchester United? It's no excuse, so why'd you bring it up? Jurgen, come on, man. Come on, man.
Let's see. I'm trying to go back.
Man.
Manchester United.
Look, Manchester United. No, they've got a ton of penalties. They have gotten a ton of penalties. It's a stat, John. Like, it's real.
But
it's
what
not
does
fake.
one have to do with the other?
Okay. Just focus. Jurgen Klopp said something stupid, and what he said was true. Manchester United's gotten more penalties than he has. Why you bring that up after a loss? He wanted a penalty. He didn't get a penalty. Ragamuffin's yelling at me. I know. I'm playing the clip because Ragamuffin, if it's not an excuse, then why are you bringing it up if you're Jurgen Klopp?
Oh, okay.
What?
They play Manchester United on the 17th. He's probably setting the table.
Yeah. But it's not an excuse.
No.
And, yeah. Sure, look, it's a no call. It's a goal. It's whatever. That's fine. But he's bringing up Manchester United, Ragamuffin. That's the point. That's what I'm talking about.
Right.
He's bringing up another team who he's going to play here soon. And he's complaining, because he is, about he didn't get a penalty. But he's throwing shade at another team that had nothing to do with this game. He is reaching at this point. And this is not new. This has been going on for a while. This is the reality. And he's dealing with a lot of pressure. And he's not handling it very well. He's getting snippy. He's pointing fingers. He's getting defensive. Look, his team's going through a rough patch. They're still a great team. They're still the favorite to win the Premier League.
Yeah, no one's saying Liverpool's a bad team.
But he's got to keep his head.
No one's saying Liverpool's a bad team.
He's got to keep his head.
Right. Yeah. I just expect better, and maybe I shouldn't at this point, but I just expect better from Klopp in situations like this. Look, everybody wants penalties called in a game. There's going to be moments where you're going to say, VAR didn't check this. Why? This team would have gotten that call. This team would have gotten that one. I say, if in Serie A, we say it all the time for Juventus. Juventus would get that call. Milan would not. Inter would not. Fiorentina would not get that call. Juve would get that call. But in this case, if you take the L, take the L. Just say, hey, you know what? We just weren't good enough today. And we're going to have to figure it out. And as a coach, I got to be better. And that's the long and short of it. It's not – I mean, come on. Let's just pull it together here. And yes, schedule compression is a nightmare in England. It would be hard for me if I were in a manager's shoes out there, Thomas Tuchel, and looking at places to go. But it would be hard for me to select a team in England because of the schedule compression, because you got a shortened offseason. Injuries are going to mount up, and it's going to hit everyone. It's going to hit everyone. If it's not your team today, it may be your team tomorrow if it hasn't already happened. Klopp has to make adjustments. And if he's not going to make adjustments, then there will be more games like this because the blueprint is out there for these provincial sides to come in, drop back, give you the ball, and say, beat us. And there are a lot of teams out there in the Premier League who take that ball and beat them. You have to be one of them.
Now, one thing, John, go ahead. Can you check on this for me? Because I'm doing a quick bit of research. And
sure.
Penalties this season given 4. Liverpool's got 5 and Manchester United's got 6. Last season, there was a pretty big difference. Manchester United with 14, Liverpool with 5. But this season, you want to complain about somebody, complain about Leicester. They've gotten 10. Nobody else has got more than 6.
Yeah.
And one's against them, I mean, it's about the same. Liverpool's had 5-4, 5 against. Manchester United's had 6-4, 4 against. Leicester's had 10-4 and 1 against.
Right.
So, I mean, look, it happens. Like, you want to throw last year into it, fine. But if you ask him about the penalty or a penalty decision and he thinks it's a penalty, no problem. Say you think it's a penalty. He said he thought it's a penalty. Right. Bringing up somebody else into it, I think you're reaching. I also think you're trying to start a narrative, and right. You do happen to play this team in a while, and they are the team that's level with you on points. Winter Wind says it, and look, I didn't follow his time at Dortmund super close, especially to this level with all the off-the-pitch stuff. Winter Wind says, go back and look at his time at Dortmund. This is not that out of character. At Dortmund, they loved him for it, and I'm sure Liverpool fans love him for what he's doing, but
right,
man, I just wonder, because when the manager feels like they're getting defensive and they're getting to where they're looking for things to complain about, or they're just complaining a lot, some squads, I guess, respond to it positively. I don't think all that many do. I think some respond negatively to that. And I'm wondering what's going on right now with Liverpool and how they spin out of this.
Well, for them, you're in the January window. You have an opportunity to bolster your squad if you.
They say they're not going to.
So.
Yeah, they say they're not going to.
That's a choice they make.
Yeah.
But the narrative here is you lost. That's the narrative, and that you've had 2 managers who've come in and have figured out a way to slow you down. In this case today, stop you. You are now tied with Man United, a team that a great many people in the Premier League feel is a bit dysfunctional. They're sitting at second in the table, so clearly they're not that dysfunctional. And, I mean, it's probably the tightest Premier League race that we've seen in a while.
Yeah.
And those of us who are not diehard Prem fans, I'm happy to see it. I think it's great. But if you're Liverpool in this situation, it's going to happen, man. And to bring Man United's name into this, today you should have just said, you know what? We should have had the penalty. We didn't get it. In my opinion, we should have got it, but we didn't. And, it's back to the drawing board and next step's Man United. We're on to Manchester. That should have been it. The Bill Belichick. We're on to Manchester. What about the penalty day? We're on to Manchester.
We're on to Manchester.
Okay. Great, thank you, and just keep it moving. Don't bring in the next opponent's name with Manchester United. But man, no one cares about that mess.
It's
Stop
kind of
crying. Take the L.
It's kind of funny,
and it's their second one of the season in 17 matches.
It's not about to be in the second one, John. It's about their level on points of Manchester United now, and they've got 2 points out of their last 3. It's not about just the second loss, and they shouldn't be mad about it. It's been bad for 3 games now.
It is.
I mean, Ragamuffin asks, would you prefer Klopp to say Trent Alexander-Arnold is ish right now?
Sure.
Yes.
Maybe he needs some PR lessons in how to craft the narrative a little bit. Yeah. The Mail Sport Online did not have to craft any narratives. They pointed out today that Trent Alexander-Arnold gave the ball away 38 times in Liverpool's loss at Southampton, more than any other player in a single Premier League game this season.
Does that qualify as ish?
That would absolutely qualify as ish.
Every player has a bad game. Every player has a bad streak or an off streak.
It happens, yeah.
Minus maybe 2 players walking the planet right now. But honestly, with I get to the pressures and not just within the confines of the arena, but outside in England right now, pressures are through the roof, right? I mean, you're going into another lockdown. What's this going to mean for, generally for business in general? And what, seriously, just follow the Bill Belichick method and just say, we're on to Manchester. That's it. We can't do anything about this game. Clock's done. They're not going to let us back on the field to try to get an equalizer. We're on to Manchester. The end. We'll do better next time. And if Liverpool as an organization has said, hey, we're not going to go get anybody in the window, stop complaining. You have the opportunity to strengthen your roster right now. You don't want to take it? That's up. But whining about how many penalties, Man U has is ridiculous. I don't know why that seems to be just sticking with me. I don't know why. I can't put a finger on why. It bothers. It's just weak. That's all it is. It's just weak.
You're setting up a narrative for the next Premier League match.
Yes. So if things don't go quite so well, then
it's not the next Premier League match.
This is what I talked about last week. Man United getting the penalties, and no, just stop. Just if you miss a penalty, if they miss a penalty call in the next game, aim it at VAR. I thought we had this system to detect when fouls were committed, and it doesn't seem to be working too well when the Liverpool is playing. Okay, then great. That's a different conversation. But call it a team, your next opponent out like that is, come on, man. Be better. If you're the champion, be the champion. Be the champion.
They should be thrilled about playing Manchester United when they do, because I was looking at it. I'm like, there's no way that's Liverpool's next match. It is Liverpool's next league match. Manchester United, before that, they play the EFL Cup semifinal, the Gummy Bear Cup, against Manchester City in 2 days. They play FA Cup. They host Watford on the 9th. Then they play at Burnley on the 12th. Then they play Liverpool on the 17th.
Damn.
Liverpool plays FA Cup. That's it in that time frame. So they should be pretty happy about their situation.
Yeah.
Yes, and so there's no excuse. The thing is that Klopp...
Oh, there will be.
If there's a draw or a loss against Manchester United, the only excuse you can go to is everyone's against us. That the whole Man U penalty mess. That's all he can go to, because you can't... that schedule is absolutely insane for Man U. That's absolutely insane. And if I'm them, I'm trotting out like I'm going up to the 12-year-olds. Hey, you guys want to play in a Premier League match next week?
How many kids do you want to sit there and trot out? For
See,
these
it's
matches?
tough. You can't though.
And that's the thing, because you want trophies. You've got to.
It's not that. It's the only one you can is the FA Cup. If you're Manchester United, you've got the semi-final of the Gummy Bear Cup. It's not the round of 32. It's the semi-final. You're playing City.
You got to go first choice.
You got to go first choice. The FA Cup game against Watford, you go with whoever's standing. The game against Burnley, it's league. Like, every point matters. You can't throw points away in the league right now, because if you win that, even if you get a point in that, you're in first going into the match with Liverpool.
Yeah.
Right.
So you've got to take the points against Burnley.
For the Gummy Bear
Well,
Cup.
the Watford match, that's
the
when you bring
Watford
out
game
your
is the one that
U12s.
you play. Yes, you play the kids. That's the one you have to.
I'm not even playing the kids. Are you kidding me? I need every able body for the Prim. I'm talking about the water boy, the guy who works in the cafeteria. Like, hey, hold up. Who's the guy that put the chips on the plate on Thursday? What's his name? Right. Yeah. Get him. Get George in here. George.
They're playing FA Cup. That's it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The guy who hasn't jogged more than 50 yards in a month. Yeah, him. He's going in the game.
All right, we've got all kinds of stuff. It feels like it's going to be one of those kinds of nights where there's just all kinds of bubbling up rumors. It is silly season. Markets are open, so it's going to be kind of fast and furious with this stuff, and we'll bounce around to it. Let's start with this one. So Gianluca Di Marzio is reporting that Juve is now chasing Papu Gomez. And they've got to make room to get him, and the room they would like to make is leaving Bernardeschi out, and Hertha Berlin are interested in Bernardeschi.
If Juve can get money for Bernardeschi, go for it.
Yeah.
If you can get money for it,
I like him too. I've always liked him as a player.
That's not an insult to Bernardeschi.
No,
it's Juve's in a position right now they need money. And if you can move him and get some cash, that's fine. Because it's in league, Atalanta is going to try to rake them over the coals for any spare coins, probably a little more than they would Inter or Milan. So I would have to say, if that's pretty bold, if you're Juve, but they're in a position right now, you're in fifth and you're 10 points out from the top spot. You need all the help you can get. And Papu Gomez can obviously do that. So,
where do you think he's going to end up? Because, I mean, I've seen Inter. I've seen Milan. Now Juve. I think Roma has been mentioned with Papu Gomez. PSG has been mentioned with Papu Gomez. Of course, FC Cincinnati has been mentioned with Papu Gomez. Where do you think he ends up?
I think Roma's a good place to start. They need help. They're in third right now, but they have points that they need to make up. They need to be a little bit more dynamic. There's new ownership in place. Dan Friedkin obviously wants to prove to the ultras that he's invested and involved, and I think this would be a great way to start off. Milan has options that they're chasing right now, but I will say that I think Inter could use Papu Gomez. Won't really chase him. Roma's probably the best option. He wants to stay in Italy. A lot of these players who are in Italy, they grow up in Italy. They go from a club standpoint in Italy. They find their greatest success in Italy. They don't want to leave Italy. Life is too good. And so the idea of FC Cincinnati coming in and making this move, sure, they may want to make that move. Well, you know what? I would like $4.2 million in my bank account. Doesn't mean it's going to happen. So, I would.
That'd be nice.
And I appreciate the fact that FC Cincinnati seems to be going for it here. However, I just don't believe that that's a move that's going to happen. Yeah. Roma, to me, is the club that can make that move happen.
Okay, we'll see if that happens by the end of the month. Another one,
Argentina.
All right, Christian Pavone. This has been going round and round and round and round and round. So, loaned to LA Galaxy for 18 months, $20 million purchase option. Galaxy said, there's a pandemic. Boca reportedly said, well, how about 10? And the Galaxy didn't offer much more than 8, according to Ole in Argentina. It's after the first of the year, so Christian Pavone is no longer a member of the LA Galaxy. He is back as a Boca Juniors player. Except he's kind of not, because he's not going to training sessions. He has done the coronavirus test. He has done his PCR test. LA Galaxy, according to some reports, have asked for more time to present another offer for a transfer for Pavone. He wasn't included in the Copa Libertadores squad. He hasn't come to training at this point. this is weird. And the Agustin Almendra stuff, in terms of the Boca Juniors situation, that's been another weird one. That he just returned to training. He didn't train under Russo before. The Atlanta United offers, according to some reports, have been back and forth, but they haven't settled on anything. Boca's got two guys that are probably worth around $10 million each, and they can't sell them, and they can't get them to train or play them. This is weird.
I don't think it's necessarily weird. I think it's the fact that MLS has started rating Argentine talent.
No, that part's not weird. It's the fact that Boca can't get deals done or get these guys to train. I mean, Almendra hasn't played since November of 2019.
Yeah,
he hasn't played a game.
Boca can get the deal done. They can get the deal done. But it may be a situation where they are trying to press what they believe is a naive opponent into making them.
Excitement about Pavone.
Boca Juniors fans. Very excited.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. It's a weird one. I don't know exactly what's going on with it because the Almendra stuff has lingered for a while for them.
Right.
And now Pavone is in the situation where it feels like he either isn't wanted, doesn't think he's wanted, doesn't want to be there. You know, his agent was really cagey during the negotiations with the Galaxy. He kept saying, like, we're just staying out of it. Like, they can sort it out. We're happy here, we're happy there, whatever. Y'all sort it out. And that's not typical.
But they have to. If Boca's receiving offers, then they're going to try to press the advantage. But they also have, if they have players who say, well, we're not training, or we're not training, or we're not going to, we're sitting back. Boca has to send a message to them too, the players, and say, look, we will attempt to get deals done. We are not going to just kick you out of here for any price that gets put across our table. And we're not going to be bullied by another club, much less you, into getting a deal done. So, and that rarely does that work.
Yeah.
More often than not, a deal gets done. But Boca may be in a position to be like, hey, look, we're not going to make things easy for anyone right now just because of the pandemic and the global economy. We're still not going to make it easy for you. So,
they need to get something done with these
deals can get done. The Pavone deal may need a little bit of magical sauce and some pixie dust or whatever.
Some pixie dust.
The Pavone one doesn't feel like it's too difficult. Gustavo chimes in and says that it looks like he people are saying he doesn't want to return to the club. They sounded pretty close. I think he ends up with the Galaxy. If they were offering 8 or a little over 8 and it was 10, they'll find some number in between. They'll get it done. If he doesn't want to go back to Boca, there's nothing much they can do. The Almendra one is baffling because you're talking about a player who, ahead of the U20 World Cup, was reportedly offered, or Napoli offered $29 million for him. And Boca said, no, let's hold off, let's see what happens.
Right.
And then you had managerial changes and you had things go down, and you've had a guy who had a reported offer on the table, not valued at $29 million. Like somebody said, we'll give you $29 million for him.
Right.
They said no, and now he hasn't played in a match over 12 months. His value, I have no idea what you would even say that it is at this point because he hasn't played in over a year, and it's not injuries, and he hasn't trained.
Yeah,
I mean, it's so baffling. I don't know. I don't know what's going on. I don't know how much of that's on Boca, how much of that's on the player. I would have probably said it somewhere both, because you had a manager come in Russo didn't really care about Almendra, didn't really rate him the same way. But it's an asset to the club. I mean, again, it's a guy who had an offer on the table for $29 million. Right. Boca's doing well financially, but they're not doing that well. To see something like that plummet right now, it's strange. It's strange, and I know they're doing well, Gustavo. I know they've got the money, but I don't know. Before I would have said it's somewhere in between with Almendra and Russo. Now that you've got another player who, was at the World Cup in 2018, had a $20 million transfer clause on him, and now you can't get him back in camp. Like, something just feels odd. And now Boca is trying to get Marcos Rojo, and there were reports in Argentina that deal was done, and they were going to get Marcos Rojo from Manchester United. But reports on the other side of the Atlantic were saying, no, nothing's done yet. There's no offer yet. Nothing's happening. So, I don't know. Things seem a little strange, and it's a big week for Boca, and we'll get into it later with the Copa Libertadores semifinals starting this week. And they're coming off of a 2-2 draw with River in domestic play where they probably, even though it's a home draw, it probably kind of feels like a win the way they had to come back and get it with 10 men. So it's just a weird time for Boca. I don't know how I feel about Boca at the moment.
Well, the Pavone deal I think can get done. You offer 8, 5, or 9 with a couple of escalators on it, and you meet certain metrics. You get paid the extra cash and you call it good. The Almendra deal feels like that feels like they're negotiating emotionally is what it feels like. That they may be angry that they left $29 million on the table. That's no fault of Atlanta or whoever else is at the negotiating table, but they may be feeling like, well, we have to get some of that back. It's not just a matter of money; it's also a matter of pride, and maybe correcting a mistake. Just feels like it's a bit of emotional negotiating. That never really works out well. So, best of luck. Best of luck to them, though.
Mondays with Reddit.
It's Mondays with Reddit with the Barcelona presidential election. Candidates are speaking. We've had one candidate say that he's going to bring Erling Haaland over when he is announced as president. The next day he's going to give old Mino a call and get it done. And Mino's like, nuh-uh. Nobody's talked to me. Victor Font, who's maybe the number 2 guy in the race, this is what he said about where things stand and what he wants for Barcelona, and I want to get your thoughts on it first to you, John. We're looking for a project similar to that of Bayern Munich that has to have club legends at the head of the club. We have spoken with Puyol, yes.
Okay.
Spoken with Puyol.
Are you excited about this?
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah, okay.
What's the next offer? As a formal candidate for the 20,
Nick. What
21.
Nick? What is your current position as you're running for this office?
That's a fantastic question, Mr. Nelson. We appreciate you asking it. What I would like to first bring forth to the table, that it is a wonderful day to be a Barcelona fan, and for all you season ticket holders out there, we want you to know that we're going to make every effort humanly possible to get Lionel Messi out from under this roof immediately with his sky-high salary. We will make the books great again. We're going to do that. We're going to make the cash level what it needs to be. We're going to make that happen. And then I will call Mino Raiola, okay? And I'm going to tell him that we are going to make a move for none of his clients. He can get out of Barcelona. He ain't talking to us anymore. We're going to develop our own talent in-house is what we're going to do, because that's what made us great before, so we're going to make us great again. Xavi's going to be on.
I don't think you have the facilities for that, big man.
Big Shaq, I don't care what you got to say. Big Shaq, come over here and say that to my face. That's what you can come do, Big Shaq. Right? 2 + 2 is 4, -1, that's 3 Big Mats.
Yeah, Victor Font already said there's no money to make signings. Neither in the winter nor in the summer can large investments be made. We will have to take advantage of the talent that comes from home and sign players who end their contract.
Yes.
All this stew in every pot stuff. I look at it like I do National Signing Day. Until get them to sign on the line which is dotted. Until that moment happens, all I'm hearing is white noise in both ears of the stereo headset. It's like, you want to talk? Great. I'm gonna take notes. You talk. Then when everything gets figured out, when it comes to the election, I'm gonna go back in my notes. and I'm going to look at my notes. I'm going to see what the sentence structure is. I'm going to look at all these polysyllabic nouns and verbs and all these promises that you laid out for me, whoever you are that's going to be at the top of the ladder when we're talking about Barcelona. And you get all of this talk, all of this jibber jabber, all of this stuff about money. And you wonder about what's going to happen. How much of it is realistic? How much of it is sitting there blowing smoke? How much of it is telling me that is water coming down on my person when in fact it is something else? Every single person that is running for this office, I sit there and say, you're running your mouth. Because you know what? I got legal pads. I got pens. I got stuff. I got legal pads that I haven't even cracked yet, that is waiting to write down.
In the wrapping still.
They are in the wrapping. Victor Font, you're going to talk. I'm going to crack this open. You know what?
You're going to write?
When you talk, I'm going to keep writing because I'm ready to go with all my notes. But every single time I hear somebody sit there and say that they're going to promise me something for Barcelona, I'm saying first you got to get to the election. This is like all of these elections.
That's the whole point. It is an election.
Candidates running for office.
What are you talking about?
He just cut a promo is what happened.
What? Yeah, but it's not making any sense.
Cut a promo. For the first time on this show, John Nelson just cut a promo.
No, and here's the response to the promo.
What? Is there a gas leak in this place? What? Should I leave? Does the show need to be put on rice? Do I need to get out and come back in?
No, John, I don't even know what the promo was supposed to be talking about. Of course it's an election.
Hearing is noise.
No!
Until we get to the election, it's noise.
Really? Really? That's a shock. That's how you run for office. That's the whole point. It is noise.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I got legal pads. I'm writing it all down.
Good for you? They're trying to get votes? What do you want him to do? Stand there and smile?
I want him to be realistic with no money coming in.
What did I just say that Victor Font said?
Millions.
We have no money.
He wants Brewster's millions.
No,
those who are
no.
He wants Brewster's
Hold up.
millions. He wants the candidate to come out and say none of the above. That's who you need to vote.
Hold up,
Victor Font right now is being realistic. Everybody else that's running their
Laporte is being realistic too. John, stop. You're creating a narrative that's not there. The clowns are saying clownish things, and nobody's paying attention. There's two people that matter, and it's Victor Font and it's Joan Laporte, and both of them are being very clear, and they say we have no money. There's one idiot saying they're going to sign Holland, and Mino Raiola the next day was like, no, you're not. Stop. Right. That ain't happening. There's two people that are serious, and neither one is making crazy proclamations about spending money, so let's stop that narrative. That's not happening. It's not.
Jason doesn't want us to have fun, John.
No, because I don't want you to mislead people, because I've been dealing with too many people misleading people for the rest of the last year and a half. So no more misleading people. The two main candidates are looking at it basically in the same way on a lot of things. They both want to revitalize La Masia, which they have to. Mm-hmm. There's just no way around that. I think Laporta's probably had more clear-cut things about it.
Right.
Font has been more clear-cut on what he would do with the technical staff. Xavi would be in charge of it, and Xavi would make a decision on who would be the coach. And if that's Xavi, that's Xavi. And Font would hand that over to him. Laporta said that he would explore what's going on, and he doesn't have he's not going to come in and say, yeah, Coleman, you're gone, bye. So Laporta's been a little more vague on that side. Font now says he wants to bring legends back into the club. Okay, that's fine. Bring Puyol back into the club. That's cool. But they're not that different. Don't get caught up by some idiot who already got shut down by Mino Raiola not even 24 hours after what he said and say that's what the election is, because it's not. The election is two people who are actually pretty serious. One's been a former president. The other one's been close. I think both would do a good job here. They have different approaches. The thing that it's going to come down to in a lot of it, and I know that, Nick, you've said, you got to get rid of Lionel Messi, you got to get rid of Lionel Messi. I don't think either one of them are going to press that button because of the risk, because I don't know if the fan base... Now, they might do it. Don't get me wrong. Leave that to the side. I'm talking about in the election. They're not going to campaign on it.
You don't want to touch that hot button topic.
Because I don't know where the fans would go. and they're not going to risk it. And I don't think either one would want to alienate Lionel Messi, because if you saw the interview that he did, he made it pretty clear that if I was picking where he plays next year, I think it's Barcelona. And I think it's on a lesser contract, and I think he wants to fix it. But that's where I would bet right now.
I mean, if you go back and you go to that interview and you see just how much Barcelona means to him, and you get the emotion that's attached to it, and you understand everything that he has invested in it and what they have invested in him since he was a teenager. I could completely see that dynamic where he could stay. It would be for a lesser deal. He didn't want to take him to court because of what the club means to him. He didn't want to go through all of that rigmarole. So
he was personally offended by the things that Bartomeu did and lied to him about. That part was abundantly clear.
Yeah, and so it's not an issue with the club. It was an issue with an individual that was with the club. So if I'm running for office and there is this holy hand grenade that's off to the side as a topic, I'm not touching it. I'm not pulling that pin, because that's not something that you want to address, because you don't know how the fans are going to react. And you want to have the support of those fans where Lionel Messi is concerned as you're getting everyone hopefully back into new camp at some point. You want them behind you with this new step that you want to take with the organization. So no, I completely get that Font and Laporta, they're not touching the Lionel Messi
situation. So let me ask you this. Let me ask both of you this then. You both get to play the role. Since they're both the same at this point, it doesn't matter which one you're being.
Right.
They're both basically saying the same things.
Mm-hmm.
How are you going to get elected? What are you going to actually sell the people who are voting on? If both of you agree you don't have any money to spend, both of you agree that Lionel Messi is very important to the club, both of you agree that you need to develop talent from within. One of you has said Xavi and has been very clear about that. The other one hasn't been as committed to that. That's it. That's the only difference right now. What are you going to tell people to get elected? That's the question that I have.
I'm creating a plan for life after Lionel Messi. Lionel Messi wants to, as the president, I'm putting it in his court. We will make every effort that we can to keep him here. But if Lionel wants to move on, as a legend, he will always have a home here, but we're not going to tie him down. But we must prepare for life after Leo. I'm going to do that. And I'll be the one to say I don't know if Xavi's going to be the one who's going to get us there. But if he wants to come in and be a part of the project, we'll talk to him. We'll talk to anybody. But at the same time, I'm not going to pin everything on Xavi, because if we don't get him, then it becomes a problem. If he fails, it becomes a problem. Then we painted ourselves into a corner. I want more flexibility than that.
I think Victor Font was calling John.
Victor Font is calling, or the crackpot who's said he was bringing everybody in.
Yes, that guy.
But no, for me, I don't know if I'm tying myself to a particular name when it comes to bringing. Yes, we want to bring in legends to help the process going forward. I don't even know if I'm tying myself to any of those names, because if you say a name and then for some reason they're not interested or there's a disagreement, then that once again it counts itself as a negative toward being elected. But for me, it is about the academy and life after Messi, and having him as integrated in that process as possible because of what he has meant to the club for basically half of his life. I would like his input when it comes to the future, whether he is going to be a part of it or not. But at the same time, when his days are done, I would also like to sit here and say, okay, when your days are done playing, I would love for you to come back and be integral in the growth of how things are going to be in the future. I would invoke his name for the growth after he's done playing. I would not bring in any other legends to discuss, well, yeah, we want to bring so-and-so in, we want to bring so-and-so in, but then you're tying yourself to those individuals. If they're not interested, then that counts as a negative in your elective process.
That's not the issue, John. It's like he's already talked to Xavi. Like there's an agreement. Like that's not blowing smoke. Like that. If that happens, that happens. And he said he's talked to Puyol. So I mean, he's not throwing names out just to get attention. Font isn't. I don't get that impression at all. he's being a little more clear in who he would get involved. And he said, and this is something that Bayern, something a lot of clubs do. I mean, Milan, with legends involved, like it's a big, important thing.
The first run with the legends did not go very well.
And that's the risk.
That's the risk.
That's the risk. Chelsea's dealing with that right now at the managerial spot. Like, I don't think either one of the two serious candidates are making things up. I don't think they're saying crazy things that aren't true. They're not running the risk you're talking about, John. They're not saying, like, I'm going to bring this guy in, and that guy's like, who? What? I don't know this guy. What's he talking about? That's not it. It's if I'm Laporta, basically you're running on his past. You're saying, I was the one who made the big decisions that got this ball really going. Rijkaard got a Champions League under me. Pep got the sextuple where he won everything under me. I hired Pep. I had the balls to hire Pep Guardiola. Like, he's got all of that. Font doesn't. So Font's got to lean the other way and be like, I'm going to go get the guys who did that in Xavi and Puyol. That's really what it comes down to.
Yeah. It's like, I've done it before, I can do it again, or, the other way.
Now, hold on, Jarrett, you're out there, and are you washing dishes or slaughtering woodland creatures right now? Or
no, Lionel, are you there? Are you there? Messi, are you there? Good, because let me tell you about your future, about our joint future. When you come play for a fellow man from Argentina, not a fellow man of Newell's Old Boys.
Oh.
When you come,
Messi's not Mexican, Jared. He can't play for Mexico.
When you come to PSG and you come play with one of the best young French players in the world, also Neymar's there. We'll deal with that later. Whatever you need done.
No, they're friends. They're buddies.
I know, but come be a legend. Come bring the glory.
Come be a legend at PSG.
Come be a legend at PSG when you bring the cup to PSG.
Let us win the last game. You
don't have to be the man. You can just be a great man here. Before you return to Argentina, ignore all of the politics of Barcelona where you are nothing but a pawn. Come.
Yep.
And be a part of an unstoppable machine for 1, maybe 2 years. Then return to Newell's Old Boys as you please. A man with multiple titles at multiple clubs now. And get ready for that World Cup run. Where you enter the pantheon of immortality. I wait your call, Lionel.
Pantheon.
I mean, Pochettino uses big words, but I don't think that's going to work.
Poach SG, baby.
One thing that Jared did say that would be very appealing if I'm Lionel Messi is, let's get you away from all those politics at Barcelona where you're being kicked around. Your name is being kicked around by everybody. Forget that mess. Come over here.
Lionel, you are not a pawn. You are a queen on the chessboard.
You're a king on the chessboard.
You were a queen on the board. The queen has more moves.
Yeah, the queen's
all over the board.
John, did you play chess?
Gambit, John, catch up. Go watch Queen's Gambit.
Yeah, go watch Queen's Gambit, John. Come on.
Have you played chess before?
You are not a pawn. You are.
Have I played chess before?
John, I was asking him. He was trying to argue about the king. You've never played chess?
Oh, I lose a lot, but I understand.
So do I. It's fine.
Got it. Yeah, I'm not very good at it. There you go.
Own the board, Leo. Own the board, Leo. I want it to happen. I'm Team Chaos on this one. I want to go to PSG.
It's not happening.
I have this horrible feeling that Jason is right, though, that it's going to end up with him staying in Barcelona. And this whole Messi saga feels like a prime Randy Orton match where the RKO out of nowhere is Messi stays at Barcelona. We get the ups and downs of a good match. We get the near falls left and right. We get the cheating. We get the excitement. And then, bam, RKO out of nowhere. Messi stays at Barcelona.
I think he does. I think the issues...
Is it the worst thing in the world?
No.
But it does kind of put a damper on my hopes.
My biggest thing is I want Barcelona to get their books squared away first and foremost.
Well, that's not happening anytime soon. There's no first on it because it's going to take a while.
Messi, that's not happening.
Messi's not even I mean, Messi's an issue with it with his salary right now, but that's going to take a lot of time. I mean, that's not going to happen overnight. I think the issues that Messi's had with Barcelona are gone. I think it was Bartomeu. I think Bartomeu lying to him, Bartomeu playing politics and blaming him for things, and those kinds of things were going on, and his little social media campaign where he was trashing everybody, or paying people to trash everybody. I think that's done. Laporta, good relationship with Messi, no problem there if Laporta wins the election. Font's the wild card because he's a little bit of an outsider, but I think he has a great respect for the club. I mean, obviously, if he's trying to build around Xavi, and now he's talking about Puyol being involved, okay, those are guys that Messi's going to be comfortable with. The interview, he wasn't necessarily jumping up and down about Xavi, and when the question was asked of him, but he wasn't dismissive towards it either. I think Messi will do as he said. The election will happen. He'll speak to the president probably once they know who's going to win, and that should be the first call that the new president makes is to his number 10, because he can sign a pre-contract for another week or so after that, or he could try to force a transfer for another week or so after that. So Manchester City has said that they are being attentive to the situation. PSG is attentive to the situation. I don't think there's anybody else who's really attentive to the situation. And, I think he stays at Barcelona because I think he can work with either of the guys who get elected. But
do we know if Al Nassr has made a bid yet? Because God knows they've made a bid on everybody else in the world.
I don't think they have. Spartak Moscow had a pretty funny post about this when the window opened to where Lionel Messi was free to negotiate with other clubs. Spartak posted up a picture, and I'm assuming it was doctored. Maybe if it wasn't, then Messi's really funny too. Of an Instagram message being sent to Messi, like, "Hi, Leo," and Messi responds back, "No." Just no. That's pretty funny. If Spartak cracking some jokes, I just don't think there's anybody else who can really do it. I think it's City, it's PSG. I think it's more likely he stays at Barcelona and wants to fix it. Because he said he wants to be a sporting director. That's your selling point.
Here's your on-the-job training.
This is like the end of The Dark Knight Rises, where Catwoman is talking to Batman and says, "You owe these people nothing. You've given them everything." And Batman's like, "Not yet. Not everything." And I feel like that's where we are now.
We don't talk enough about how bad
Messi,
Christian Bale's voice was about that.
Oh, it was terrible. God bless him. But if I feel like that's where we are now, where now people are just like, Messi, you owe this club nothing. You've given them everything. You've taken them to all the heights humanly possible. Extend your career. Don't be caught up with these bums they're going to surround you with while they try to resurrect this club, man. It's not your job anymore.
But the heart and the job are two different things to some people.
Not for
Go
Messi.
to Paris and go live big. 5-star dining.
What if
it's the same thing for Messi?
Where would he become a good sporting director? Could you imagine back at Newell's doing sporting director related things?
It's possible. It's definitely possible. I mean, you can create role. If Lionel Messi wants to stay at Barcelona and you've hired Xavi as the sporting director, or Xavi's moved into the dugout and Puyol's the sporting director, you can create a separate sporting director role and keep Messi around.
To the sporting director.
He'll be fine. They'll keep him happy. I'd love to see him do something in terms of being involved in Newell's, but Messi's not going to want to be involved in that very long because Argentine football is madness, and he does not enjoy madness. He's not going to have fun with that.
I want Messi out of Barcelona.
It's not going to happen. I don't think so, anyway.
It's the only way to extend his career. It really is. There's going to be too much pressure on him to play every flipping game if he's at Barcelona, and they're just going to be just there. So he's going to feel like, I have to be involved, as to where if he goes to PSG, he has other stars around him to take that weight off of him, and he can extend his career and get another World Cup fully fit and healthy, his last one. So why not?
I think he wants to be a part of the solution, and I think that he would want to stay to help usher in that next era, and that's why I think he would stay, because the club means that much to him.
I get it. I'm not.
Look, I might be wrong. I you guys might end up being right. He might go to PSG or he might go to City. I think he stays at Barca. I think he's playing at Barcelona next season. What about you, Nick? Where do you think he's playing?
I think he's playing PSG.
Okay. John?
No, I like your theory. I think he stays.
Jarrett?
I think he stays, but I don't think it's necessarily the right move. Even if he wants to be part of the solution, by the time the solution rolls around, he's going to be done.
I think Jarrett killed it.
He's going to be a figurehead at that point.
Yep.
Which is fine. If that's what he wants to be, then that's what he should do. If that's what's going to make him happy.
I don't think he wants to be a figurehead. I don't think it's that. He might end up being a figurehead, but I don't think that's what he wants. I think if he stayed, it would be not because he feels like he owes Barcelona anything, not because of that. It would be because it's home. Like it would be strictly because it's home, and he doesn't want to leave it like this. That would be it.
Yeah.
And he would think that he could fix it because, I mean, how many times has he fixed it? He would think that he could. And the thing that would make him deviate from that, the one thing that would make him deviate from that is the World Cup in 22. If he really looks at it or is really leveled with by presidents, by people at the club, that it's going to be a rough couple of years because we've got to get the spending right. We've got to get the finances right. He might leave to be in better shape for that World Cup. That would be the thing that would put him over the edge, I think, because that's his last shot. And that's the one thing missing.
That's where Barcelona blew it.
PSG feels like a good fit for that, where he can play high level, where he's not going to have to carry the team.
Right.
See, I think City's more likely than PSG because he knows Pep and he trusts Pep.
It's a good shout. They've just fallen off the radar so much, and
laying in the cut.
I'm sorry?
Laying in the cut. Just sitting back and waiting because Pep's probably got every direct number that Lionel has. Pep's got it. Pep's got the WhatsApp group. Pep's got all of it. Pep can go to the house.
He's got his. Oh, Pep still has his MySpace page.
Yes. Yes.
Pep's got the access code to the gate.
I don't know about that, but Pep can get to him, so they don't need to be over the top. Pochettino, that's an interesting one. It's not really a connection that's ever really talked about because I don't know if there is one. But Neymar, there is.
I know they both spent time at Newell's at different points in life.
Yeah, nothing there.
The only real connection there is you're from the same country and you both started at the same club.
They're from the same area in the country. They're from the same country. They definitely have people in common. I think the draw to PSG would be more about his friend Neymar. I don't know if he's buddies with Di Maria, but Di Maria might not stick around. That's a question that we don't know about yet. It'd be Neymar that would draw him to PSG more, but I think if the World Cup is the thing, he would trust Pep to get him ready for that more than anybody else. That would be the only thing that would change it for me. I still think he stays at Barca, but that would be the one thing that might tweak it.
What aging Argentine player can we assign to PSG? PSG's power move would also be to go to Messi. It's like, come here, pick a player from Barcelona. We'll sign him too. Who do you want? Who do you want to bring with you?
That's true. I don't know who he would need. I don't know who he would want. I'm not sure who he's buddies with at this point that's still there. Because I mean, his closest buddies, I think, recently were Suarez and Neymar. Yep. You know, so I mean, he's a little bit of a lone wolf at this point. I don't know if he likes it or not. He's never really been in that situation. It'll be interesting to see this play out. There's going to be a lot of psychology to this too, in terms of what he's comfortable with, what he wants to do, how the decision goes. And I mean, Gustavo's right. Look, he wants to win. Mm-hmm. That's going to factor in too. And I'm sure there is a sense of responsibility at Barcelona, but is it enough to overcome what could be a scary couple of years? And that World Cup is the thing that looms out there too. I think he wants to win the World Cup more than anything in the world.
Yeah.
He would trade any other league title, Champions League title, anything for the World Cup. It's all about that for him. Mm-hmm. And if that drives the discussion, that might lead him to City.
I think playing at a team like that or PSG keeps him sharp enough, but he's not going to have to carry anybody on his back where he's going to have to work himself into the ground.
No,
I get
you.
Stay sharp, but also keep the fuel tank full.
I get you, but that's on him too, and that's what's hard. I mean, he's only now starting to get comfortable with not playing. I mean, before you couldn't take him out, you couldn't sub him out of games. Like he did not want to miss games. He's now starting to understand, like, hey, I got to manage my body a little bit now. I got to be a little smarter than that. So, I mean, if it's Coleman, if it's Pochettino, if it's Guardiola, if it comes down to the three of them and he's going to make a decision, it's probably Pep.
Yeah.
I don't know. Now you're making me think more that it could be City.
Call Neymar. Make the call.
I don't know if Neymar's going to drive that. Neymar would be fun. I just think I think it's Barca, but Pep is the one that could change it. I wonder. Now I'm intrigued. I want to pay attention to some of these interviews coming up the next couple weeks.
Yeah, I mean, with PSG, there's the idea where you can manage your body, get ready for the World Cup. You can be with Neymar, you can be with Pochettino, with Manchester City. It's being with Pep, who would be there to encourage you to manage minutes if that was something that you were looking to do.
He doesn't want to do management. That's not it. Pep, it's not about that. What would be interesting for Pep, he would go to Pep and say, look, I'm going to be part of the squad. I want to win everything that you want to win. But I want you to have me in tip-top shape for Qatar.
For the
World Cup. That's it.
Okay.
He said he doesn't want to manage, so leave that off. That's not it.
Okay.
He wants to be a sporting director. He wants to stay in the game. But if he goes to City, it's because he thinks Pep can get him ready for that World Cup better than any other coach he could have.
Yeah. And then with Barcelona, there's all the other attachments that are there. So, no, it's an interesting triangle that we have.
It's a soap opera. It could be a really good soap opera.
The telenovela.
Yeah, it could.
And here's the thing that
you're cut off the end of a Paraguayan league game for this.
Pretty much. I think we're also focusing on, okay, he's going to do something by the end of this month. He doesn't have to. He's out of contract in the summer. He could wait. And as Alex Basine points out in the Twitch pitch, he kind of alluded to that in this interview, that he could give that new president time to settle in. He could say, I'm good for the rest of the year. I'm not going anywhere. I'm not going to sign a pre-contract anywhere. I'm going to wait till the summer, and then everybody can put their cards on the table. So that would give the new person some time. That would buy them some time to figure things out. And that might change all of this. I mean, what could happen between now and then? Pochettino could win the Champions League with PSG. That's not a crazy thought. That he is going to play Barcelona here in the Champions League as well. So Messi will get a chance to see Pochettino's team firsthand straight away, see how they work. Pep could win the Champions League. Pep could win the Premier League again. This could really change a lot by the time we get to the summer when a decision's made.
And Messi could add a Premier League title to his CV. Not that he doesn't have a whole lot on it already, but it's just that little extra thing to get ready for Qatar.
That's later. I'm talking about the rest of this season.
Yeah.
The rest of
this
season.
I want news now.
A lot of things.
Garnet.
Yeah, I don't know.
I demand answers.
I don't know if you're going to get them. I think it's going to take a minute.
I don't think we are.
All right, Nick, I got to ask you, or maybe I have to ask your good friend that you admire a lot who runs an MLS team and might be very involved in running an MLS team this year. What's going on with Inter and Inter Miami and this whole situation? Could you explain it to us, please?
Well, here's the thing. Whenever you talk about and don't worry, we'll get Bexy on the line here in a moment.
Okay. Just checking.
It's this really crazy thing, guys, is that if you have something like an iPhone, right? Somebody has invested a fair amount of time and money into building that into a brand, right? So if I were to go and create a new little phone and call it the iPhone, well, this company called Apple is probably going to sue me beyond the ninth circle of hell in order to recoup that money and make sure that I know and everyone else knows never to do that again. Well, when they were building their brand down in Miami, apparently they have, as the old adage says, more dollars than cents, and they consulted marketing people, lawyers, and decided to call their team Inter Miami. Well, there's a problem. There's this team in Milan, where's blue and black, that have sort of been calling themselves Inter. This is about 1903, 1906, somewhere around there, I don't know. But anyway, they are more or less perturbed that the team down in Miami, the greater Miami-Dade Metroplex, has decided to call themselves Inter as well. And they have decided to bring those troubles to the people's court. And we don't have Judge Wapner presiding over these things, but Inter Miami has lost.
But they're in a different country, Nick. But Inter Miami's in a different country.
No,
one's in Italy and one's in America. They're different.
Indeed, Mr. Nelson. But the thing is that you have these global brands. And in these global brands, global trademarks, they mean something. And the Moss Brothers and David Beckham should have known better. This is the plaintiff.
Oh,
well, look, this is absolutely buffoonish. And we have been saying time and time again, hold up.
Oh, no.
Here we go.
This is the part of Inter Miami season. If Inter Miami season was the song "Come On Eileen," this is the part where the tempo starts picking up and everything gets weird.
First of all, I have a couple of words to say about the pending litigation going on right now between Inter Miami and Inter Milan. First of all, I don't like either one of these characters. Okay, let's go ahead and make sure we get that right, because I like people and I like things that are championship material. And normally I don't discuss things that are not championship material. And we all know that team in black and pink down in South Florida is in championship material, because there's two kinds of things in this world, gentlemen, and that's dreams and reality. And everybody's got dreams, and we're really happy for you. But for you bums down there, you cartoon characters, you better understand something right now. There's this little thing called copyright law that you, in the middle of crafting your 477 stadium design drawings that you decided to chuck out there for the media, you forgot about that copyright issue with the name, my friend. And that means that you are going to have to rebrand, and you're going to have to make the whole presentation for your little name, because it means nothing now in the court of law. Ooh. And David Beckham, everyone out there, I want everyone to know that we're going to resolve this as quick as possible. My wife is a Spice Girl. I've consulted her, and we are going to be the Spice Pops. Now, the Miami Spice Pops is who we're going to be, and I'm going to take over more control of the club, and I'm training with the lads already, and we're signing. Who are we going to sign? Somebody from Atlanta. Who else is from Atlanta United who's available right now? Who from Atlanta United's available right now? Miggy, can we get Miggy Almer on? We can't get Miggy Almer on. He's under contract right now. We're going to find someone who has recently been released from Atlanta United to come down and play for us, and it's going to be a coup, and we're going to win a title. And my name's not David Beckham. Free kick, and that's how it's going to be. And that's Miami Sugar Pop is what's going to happen right here. It's unfortunate all. Look, this is stupid. You should have consulted, and you should have gotten the copyright people on board. And everybody sat there and clowned you guys because you had stadium design after stadium design after stadium design, and you blew it. Okay, well, we're going to have this great beachside. We're going to have this great right by the harbor. Nope, that didn't work out. Okay, now we're in Fort Lauderdale. It's temporary, but it's not happening. Guys, how much more botched can you be? Everyone sat there. Everyone ignored Nashville. Right? Oh, Nashville's going to go real quietly, and they're going to... No, Nashville has had an infinitely more successful rollout than Inter Miami. Glitz, glamour, it's like ordering a $410 A5 Wagyu steak, and you get like a piece of dry shoe leather from the discount section of insert cheap chain grocery store here. It's buffoonish, and they should know better. That's the problem.
a slice of meat from a Winn-Dixie that they're perfectly satisfied with and is making everyone happy.
It's making everyone
because
happy.
they know how to grill in the South, brother.
Yeah.
And the folks at Inter Miami do not.
Well, it's not the South.
But that's the problem here. Is you have billionaires in the Moss brothers. You have lawyers. You have people. It's called due diligence. We talk about it on this show all the time. Since day one of the show, we've talked about due diligence. Okay.
Did no one in Miami ever do a SWOT analysis? Did no one ever have to do a SWOT analysis in a business class?
Obviously not.
It seems like under weaknesses, unless I get a 100% guarantee we're not going to have to fight litigation, we should probably rethink this.
All right, we hold on. We got a little bit more on this. So let's get what was said today. Let's get down to this because
bring it down to our forum.
Doug Llewellyn.
Doug Llewellyn will come in and settle this. All right, look. So you understand what's going on. Inter Milan is suing MLS, which and Miami is the part of that because Miami is the franchise within MLS. So they're suing MLS, single entity, for trademark infringement. Inter Milan is claiming that the term Inter is synonymous with its club and nobody else.
Yes.
Nobody else in the world is what they're saying. The term Inter, I-N-T-E-R,
yes,
is synonymous with only the club based in Italy.
Correct. No one else goes by that name. No one else goes by Inter.
This kind of feels like the Kleenex argument.
Internacional in Brazil, Porto Alegre.
But they don't call themselves
they do,
Inter as a brand.
But they do.
As a brand.
But they do. But that doesn't matter because that's in Brazil. This is about the United States. Inter is saying that in the United States, if somebody says Inter, that they're thinking of the team in Milan.
Because
now, yeah, probably, maybe.
I would say past history would lean that way, yeah.
Maybe.
I hate Inter.
I know.
I cannot stand Inter.
But
as
someone who follows Serie A, as you do, and the international soccer fan that lives here,
yes,
when you say Inter, I would think the first inclination is to think about Milan.
Yes.
And then the club in South Florida comes along, and the only difference is there's an L in the middle of one of the two names. All the consonants are the same. There's an L and an N. That's the only difference.
No, that has nothing to do with it. It's strictly on Inter.
Right.
Everything is about Inter. Doesn't matter Inter Miami. Inter Milan isn't necessarily the name of the team. That's what people have called it here in this country for a long time, but that's not it. They're saying Inter. When you use Inter, you are referring to the club in Italy. And they're saying that Inter Miami creates confusion in the marketplace because they have Inter trademarked. Miami and MLS claimed that that wasn't the case. They claimed that there are a number of clubs that use Inter in their name, and Internacional is one. There's an Inter Nashville in the NPSL. There's Inter Atlanta on the youth side here. That's actually part of this suit. Inter Turku in Finland. There's an Inter in Croatia. There's an Inter Leipzig in Germany, which I didn't know about. There's an Inter in Haiti. The U.S. Patent and Trademark Office, because that's what this comes down to, the USPTO.
Yeah.
They said that claim, that there's a number of clubs around the world that use Inter in their name, did not meet the burden to show that MLS has valid proprietary or ownership right in the name Inter. The other argument is that Inter is merely descriptive. So MLS was trying to argue that it's just a descriptive term, and that's not true. Because, again, the club is not called Inter Milan commonly. That's an Americanization of it. Like, they're Inter, right? They're Internacional. Like, it's that, Nick, correct? Is that fair? Like, nobody calls it Inter Milan outside
Italy,
of the United States.
they refer to him as Inter.
Right.
In Italy, they refer to him as Inter. Here, they refer to him as Inter.
Yeah.
But it is Internacional.
Yeah. Here, they've tried to say, like, Inter Milan as a difference to AC Milan, and it's dumb because it's not actually what they go by.
No, if you hear me say it, for all those out there, there's a reason I say Inter and then Gap or Milan, because it's not AC Milan. It's because everyone's in Italy, it's Milano, and so but it's Milan It's AC Milan.
Right.
AC Milan was founded by Englishmen.
Right.
AC Milan. And when I say Milan, I mean the AC variety. If I say Inter, it's blue and black.
So people are twisting this into some different directions. The suit's not over, first off, at all. What the USPTO did was they dismissed the argument about a bunch of clubs around the world with Inter in the name. Mm-hmm. That's thrown out, so that has nothing to do with it. So now what it comes down to is Inter in Italy has to convince the USPTO that consumers think of Inter Milan when they hear the term Inter.
Call me.
That's the argument now. If Inter in Milan wins that argument, then Inter Miami will, at a minimum, have to stop using that version of their name. That's not the official name of the club, first off. And this is another thing where I think people are massively confused. That's not the official name of the club. And I think they did that on purpose because they knew that this was a risk. The official name of the club...
So then
they just can't go by Inter Miami. They can't go by Inter shortened. The club is Club Internacional de Football Miami.
Okay, so
I still hope I can buy Inter Miami things outside the gates like you used to be able to do at Turner Field on the street.
There isn't Inter Miami
Enter
things.
And go forward.
But that's the thing. There isn't Inter Miami things. It's the club. It's Inter Miami CF or Club Internacional de Football Miami. They just can't go by Inter Miami. And that's what they've gone by. And they're not going to be able to do that if they lose this patent suit. They don't have to change their name. Like Inter,
they have to change it, but they have built a brand around Inter Miami.
Because that's what they've called it.
Atlanta United has built its name around what?
But it's different. Like it's not the same thing. Because
so?
Atlanta United is the name of the club. Like if they couldn't be Atlanta United, they'd have to change the name of the club. Inter Miami doesn't have to change the name as a business. They would have to change how they're referred to and how they refer to themselves.
And that's what I'm saying. The difference is Atlanta United said, we are Atlanta United, right? This is who we are, ATL UTD, 5 strikes. Yeah. This is us, okay? From the origin point, Atlanta and Nashville FC and Orlando City and all the rest have handled this. From the point, they were correct. From the origin point of Inter Miami, they can dress their official name up however they want. But from the origin, they have been playing up Inter Miami, and that's the problem. From point zero, they've been playing up. They can be Club Internacional de Football de Miami, whatever. That's their, but they are electing to call themselves Inter Miami all along the way. They got to stop doing that mess.
That's the
problem.
I agree.
That's the problem. I have no problem with their birth name. Their birth name's great. I think it's awesome. Embrace that.
I know. What I'm trying to clarify for people, because you've got a bunch of people who are running around making things up about this. They're not going to have to change their name as a business. Like, they're going to have to change what they're known by if they lose this lawsuit. If they lose this lawsuit, which I don't know if they lose it. I don't think it's 100% that they lose it. I don't think that's a slam dunk. They should have been more careful. They could have easily just called themselves Internacional Miami. Just call it that colloquially. That's what they're known as, Internacional Miami. There's no problem. There's no
Or just call yourself Club Miami.
I think that's
play up the fact that you have the
thesis here
hottest
is that-
nightclubs in the country, and turn that into your whole marketing shtick.
That would be the
Club
way
Miami, baby.
That's the way you shift out of it, is you do that. And you can swing that. They're going to have so much money to market this thing wherever they want to do it. It's dumb that they did what they did without getting it cleared. I'm 100% with you.
But Jason, my issue with Miami is it is one unforced error after another.
I don't disagree with you at all.
And there have been those of us who have just cracked up at the fact that it's been nothing but that from minute one. Mm-hmm. And the problem is that they have the money and the resources to do it right, and they botched it. it just feels like they brought a bunch of famous people in a room and said, what do we want to do? Well, how about we just call ourselves Inter Miami? And some lawyer goes, well, hey, guys, there may be some challenges with that. Okay, yeah, get him out. Okay, so what do we really have to call ourselves here? Okay, put that on everything, but Inter Miami going forward. And then we're going to have these black and pink color scheme, which looks beautiful. We're going to botch the jersey rollout. We're going to have this stadium. It's going to be right here. Oh, we're going to botch that. We're going to botch it. We're going to botch it. We're going to botch it again. Wait, we're going to botch it. Oh, wait, no, we're walking that back. We're going to have the city council meeting live streamed where everything's going to go south. And then we're going to move up to Fort Lauderdale. It's like, my God. Just rebrand.
No.
Just rebrand.
No. Here's the one thing that I would fight and I would argue till the end of this if I'm Miami. Have you ever heard Inter Miami refer to themselves as Inter?
No, it's always been the full name.
That's the difference. What Internazionale, to try to be Italian, what they are arguing is that the term Inter makes you think of the team in Milan, period.
Yes.
But Inter Miami isn't going by Inter. They're going by Inter Miami, and their name is full.
Okay, so everything that is Inter Miami has been solely drummed up by social media and
they've fully went by Inter Miami. That's what I'm saying. They have never gone by Inter. Inter in Milan, the argument that Internazionale is giving is that the term Inter only refers to the team in Milan. Correct. They're not going by Inter. They're going by the name, the shortened version of their team name, Inter Miami.
It's like, okay, so is it, but it's too close to the patented name or the trademark name.
That's the argument. That's what it's going to come down to.
It's registered in the U.S. patent.
And then my next argument, if I'm Miami, would be, well, why haven't you gone after Inter Atlanta? Why haven't you gone after Inter Nashville? They've both done business under the names that they use, and you haven't said a word. So what's your argument?
Because Inter Atlanta is not parading themselves around as a premier soccer club.
They're making money off selling being a premier youth development club.
Right. And
percentage of profit, probably.
Right.
It could come down to it, but that's the argument: is you're not protecting, but you're not protecting your trademark, and they're going to say, "Why do you start protecting it now?" It's down to a legal case. I mean, that's what it's down to.
Right.
Where you said
it's avoidable.
It could have been.
The thesis here for me on all this is just, I think you're both right to an extent, not to back out of it, but the whole thing for me is that it's just so ham-handed that it got to this point in the first place, which you touched on. Like, even if you go to the lawsuit and it goes, oh yeah, you're fine, don't worry about it. The fact that you got here in the first place, that you didn't do the due diligence to where you're going to end up getting to this point, is just another point where your head is going through a layer of sheetrock. What the hell, y'all?
Well, they did it. They just decided to keep going forward with it. I mean, it's not that they didn't do the due diligence, because this came up.
They just went ahead and did it.
Yeah, we talked about it a long time ago.
Then it's sloppy due diligence. Then that's fine.
Or it's arrogance.
On the league website, if you mouse over their icon, it says Inter Miami CF.
Yeah, no, I'm not arguing that. I think that the confusion is that Internazionale is saying the word Inter, you can't use it for anything. And Inter Miami is not going by Inter. They're going by Inter Miami. It's the whole thing.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I mean, look, it's a lawsuit. I mean, we've seen plenty of lawsuits, and they can go in whatever direction they want.
They should kidnap Galazzo, the mascot, just to take the heat
in
off
Melissa's case, it has been. Hey, honestly, you go by Club Miami, you play up the whole club aspect, you roll out a whole series of ads with the hottest spots in town, and of course, you have to figure out to get archival footage. Please, God, do not have real club parties right now. Just do archival footage only. No. There's a ton of archival footage, I promise.
It's just screenshots from the game Grand Theft Auto Vice City.
Sure.
Right. Yeah, there you go. It's just so stupid to me. You had every advantage handed to you. You had the Beckham advantage.
See, but
you had the Moss brothers join in.
I'm going to disagree with you. I'm going to disagree with you on a couple things, and Pacine is disagreeing with you on the stadium too. I don't think they botched the stadium. Here's what they had handed to them. David Beckham and his agent negotiated a brilliant extension with the league when he signed a second deal to stay with the LA Galaxy and get an expansion team for $25 million. Now, he ended up paying more than that because of all the extensions and different things. But brilliant negotiating by Beckham and his people. Okay. Then he picked Miami.
Yep.
And he could have left when it got difficult. He could have left many times. He could have plopped that team down anywhere he wanted to. He didn't. He stuck by Miami. I'm going to give him credit for that because Miami has a ton of potential. I've said it for a long time. There was not a city left on the map that didn't have a team that had the potential that Miami did to change the league, to be huge, huge. Miami was the last place left. Bigger than Vegas, bigger than San Diego, bigger than Austin, bigger than St. Louis, bigger than Charlotte, bigger than Sacramento, bigger than the ones that are coming down the road. Miami had the potential to be something completely on another level, like your Atlanta had launched, like LAFC had launched. It had that potential. It was the only one left. He stuck with it. He could have walked. He didn't. He tried to do right by Miami. Beckham, in my opinion, has gotten screwed multiple times by the city of Miami. Like, multiple times. I don't think it's him botching it or his people botching it. I think the city's screwed up.
No, the city has absolutely screwed up.
And the politics of all of it have screwed him over. And he probably should have walked. But he wanted to get this right because of the potential. The stadium part, I think he's been screwed at least 3 different times on it.
The golf course?
No, just the whole situation with it. The
Overton site.
The Overtown site, yes.
Yeah.
The golf course situation, and I think there was one more where it was like one idiot complaining and kept taking it to.
It was next to the old Miami Arena downtown on the shoreline.
Yes, like he kept
next to the harbor
going and finding something different and finding new partnerships, and it fell apart. Then he had a group of people to take it to start the team. Then the league said, we want a little more money than that. So he went back to the table, and he brought the Moss brothers in, and he got the right group together to do it. And then, look, we don't know what this year would have been if they had been able to have a normal year. We don't know what their brand would have looked like. They screwed up with some of their hires. They screwed up with some of their personnel. No question about that. That's where they botched it to me. The rest of it, man, I don't blame them for it. I blame them for the build-out of the team. That's where they screwed up so bad. Bad roster, bad hires, took way too long to hire a manager, didn't hire the right one. The product was bad. That's the part you can't botch, and they did.
They should not have put out all this stadium imagery and the deal was locked and done. Yeah. Because that was one of the selling points was we were going to build a state-of-the-art stadium right on the harbor. It's going to blend in perfectly with the skyline. It's going to be beautiful.
That one's so long ago. I don't think that's the issue. I think it's more of the golf course one now that's still in limbo.
The golf course one was stupid. But yet again, you had so many of these situations. And that's the challenge. It's the same issue you have building in Rome or building in New York. Mm-hmm. Is that you can't dig anywhere in that city without 5,000 permits and a blessing from the Pope himself. And it's extraordinarily difficult.
You get 10 feet before you hit an artifact.
Right, exactly. And in Miami, it's you dig 10 feet and you're hitting seawater less. And not just that, but you have the property owners down there who don't want any part of a stadium in their backyard. Stadium in the Overton site, which wouldn't even have allowed parking, right? They didn't have any room for parking. It's unforced error after unforced error. And we can disagree on the stadium idea. I will go to my grave thinking they completely botched that. And that's fine. We can disagree.
It was Biscayne Bay, not the harbor. Abby's correct.
Okay, the Biscayne Bay.
Yeah, it's like 3 stadiums back, and I couldn't remember what it was.
So, and I appreciate the fact that David Beckham stuck with the city of Miami. And I think you're right about the fact that from a if you look at a map of the U.S., it was the one with the most potential. However, that city is almost impossible to do any work with. And then you had the Marlins ownership, which made things extraordinarily difficult too, because they were looking at a sister site there.
Yep.
And so it's just, and yes, they made bad hires. And yes, the product hasn't been great. It's just buffoonish to me, though. This is not. Look at what LAFC was able to do, right? We'll take Atlanta off to everyone. Atlanta is the universal success story of MLS. We're setting it aside as
we just lost all the listeners in Seattle. They're furious.
Hey, great, good for them.
modern era.
They invented it. Seattle, yes, they've done great things, but from a rollout standpoint, I'm talking of the new expansion teams, right? FC was old a stadium. There's the reason why I didn't include Seattle. They were able to build, right? They were able to get it all set up. They were able to get it running. And do I think they made their stadium a little too small? Sure. Besides the point. The rollout was largely seamless, and they were competitive right out of the gate. If I have to compare the two, it's hilarious to me because LAFC has like 72 owners, including Tony Robbins, and isn't he's out of there now, right?
I think so.
Tony Robbins, yeah. You had like 72 owners up there, and then you have Beckham and the Moss brothers who can't seem to get it right. They need to call somebody to do do something.
But here's the difference.
Bad juju out, get something.
Here's the difference. LAFC always was moving in the same direction. From hiring Bob Bradley, from hiring John Thorrington to put the team together, they were always moving with a clear vision. Miami hasn't had that. And that's down to whoever has the control. And look, I don't know who that is. I mean, this is where it gets complicated because you've got the Moss brothers, who probably have the most money in the game. You have Beckham, who there wouldn't be a team there if it wasn't for Beckham. You've got Masahiro Son, who is one of the most rich people in the world, but I don't think he's necessarily clued into the day-to-day here. Mm-hmm. It's been too all over the place, and that shows in the way the team was built. It shows in the way players were recruited. It shows in the way that you went manager, strike out. Okay, let's get Diego Alonso. Now he doesn't really have the team that he wants. You get Paul McDonough doing everything under the sun and not doing really any of it very well. They've got to have a clear vision. That's the number one difference. Atlanta United had a clear vision from day one. LAFC, clear vision from day one. Nashville, clear vision, day one. They knew exactly what they were going to do. Minnesota, I don't agree with their vision that it was going to take 3 years, but it's worked out. Austin, clear vision. Miami, it's been all over the map. That's the number one issue because it's affected the product. The rest of it, yeah, there's things that, the stadium stuff, could they have handled it differently? Could they have handled the politics differently? Sure, it still could have blown up in their face. The name thing, could they have been a little smarter about it and not even picked the fight? Yes, I don't think they needed to pick the fight. We can say, yes, you need a kit sponsor, but you're going to find somebody who's going to pay the amount of money that you want to be the kit sponsor. So that's not so easy to just say that.
I'll put that up as a business.
We just don't know. If you hadn't had a pandemic, I think they probably could have got a kit sponsor before the end of the year. But that's going to change it. We don't know. The product is bad. The rest of it, they picked some fights maybe they shouldn't have, but the product is bad. And that's the number one thing that can't be bad in Miami. You can't have a bad team. Nobody's going to care about a bad team. The product had to be the number one thing. It was probably the 7th or 8th most important thing. And that's just not good enough. Pretty much.
It is exhausting, though. It is Miami.
Because you see a market, you see a top 10 market with a lot of promise. And Jarrett, it's just all these things in line, and it's just like, nope. And, I mean, it drives you crazy because of what it could be.
I just want there to be an alternate universe where Beckham gets really drunk one night, putting up with all this, and decides to go make a team in New Orleans or something weird.
Not going to happen, but yes, that would be hilarious.
How would that go for the New Orleans Voodoo there, David Beckham?
Voodoo don't even the Voodoo even play anymore? The
really?
AFL, I don't even know if the AFL exists.
I don't think arena football is even a thing.
Yeah.
No,
I mean it might be, but it might be like A2 level now. Like if it's there, it's just like limping along, if at all.
Yeah, the Voodoo aren't an issue. Alex Pacine says that the Fusion, going back to those days, who played in Fort Lauderdale, the same site, they were invisible in Miami, and that was another one where they were originally set to play at the Orange Bowl, and the lease was pulled out from under them at the last minute, so they had to go to Lockhart and play in Fort Lauderdale. They had no presence in Miami. To be what this club has said it wants to be, and this is another thing where maybe we'll have a better sense of it in 5 years. To be what this club wants to be, they have to be in that stadium that they're talking about building at Melreese, where the golf course is. They have to be in Miami proper. They could put everything on the field properly, and they still need to because of just the nature of the market, but it's still going to be limited in Fort Lauderdale. I totally agree with that. I totally get where Pacine's coming from here. But it still doesn't excuse the mistakes they made on the soccer side, because that's the side that you would have thought they would have got right.
And for anyone out there, Pacine's a Miami guy, so I mean, I'll take his understanding of what was happening down there, certainly over my own. But I will. But yeah, I think what makes me so angry is I really did have such high hopes for what could be done. With Beckham, I felt like he was not your traditional soccer guy who was coming in after playing and, I have these big ideas and this is good. And no, he played in us. He understood the market. He understood what could happen.
Man, but maybe he needed to be that guy.
Yeah, but I who is, like, that's a great question. Who is calling the shots in Miami, or who was up until now? Now we know that Beckham's going to have a heavier hand on
I'm guessing
things.
it was one of the Moss brothers. It had to be, because
well,
it was either them or none of the owners were really driving it, and a lot of it fell into Paul McDonough's lap as he was trying to do everything, and he couldn't do any of it effectively.
Right.
Maybe, and you look at the team, I mean, Beckham's no dummy when it comes to the game. I mean, he's been in some of the biggest clubs. He understands the game. He understands what's important. It didn't feel like a David Beckham kind of team. I mean, when the conversation starts turning to, like, this needs to be a Diego Alonso kind of team that's gritty and gets stuck in, and it's like, really?
Right.
Is that really what it needs to be? I don't know. I'm not so sure about that.
No. And look, Beckham, you're talking about a guy who played for Man United, Real Madrid, AC Milan. He had a cup of coffee with
PSG.
With PSG. I mean, the man knows big markets, and he knows glitz and glamour.
And he knows what a winning team is. I mean, that's the number one thing.
He does know what a good team is. And I mock him. Look, I know I make fun of the fact he sounds like a Muppet that got kicked a few times in a special area. But at the same time, it's the fact of the matter is the guy does know. He knows what he's doing, and he is surrounded by very, very good business people. I want to see what Miami does coming up through this year and making some changes to get people like the Hamburglar off the field, Matuidi
score
off the field, goals, and bring in people who have some work rate about them.
It might take a year or two, depending on the contract.
No, that's true. It's true, but I'm just beyond disappointed. There are a lot of teams that could survive a Minnesota type rollout. Minnesota and Nashville, they could survive that slow build out. Miami's not that team, and the Miami Fusion weren't a terrible team, and doors closed. I mean, you have to grab eyeballs in that town. You have, and it's not just that you against the Dolphins and the U and the Heat. The Marlins are whatever. I can't believe my boy messed that whole high heaven. But you have to compete against Miami itself. Like when there's no COVID going on, brother, you got to work your butt off just to compete against the city, much less the other sporting competition. And they can't even do that.
All right,
want more. I want more for them.
Would have been amazing if he'd have been like, "I'm done with this. I'm just going to go put my team in Tampa and call it a day."
Yep.
Oh, all right, we got two.
Mutiny. That would have been hilarious.
We got two things we got to get to before we wrap. One of them deserves this. Bombazo Mundial.
Whoa!
Look out!
It's a Bombazo Mundial from Josep Pedrerol, who is El Chiringuito TV in Spain, the biggest show. They have all the bombas. This is a Bombazo Mundial. It really is, if this is true. So what he is going with on his television show that airs in the United States on Fox Deportes, global bomb, Sergio Ramos. Remember, he's out of contract as well in the summer. And he hasn't got a deal done with Real Madrid yet. And reportedly, we talked about it this morning, PSG and Manchester United are interested. Let's go back to Paris. According to Senor Pedrerol, Ramos told Florentino Perez, this is in quotes, "At PSG, they have told me that they will make a team with me and with Messi."
Oh.
Sergio Ramos and Messi.
So I was really close to dropping his name when I was building my fake pitch for Messi, but I thought that was too outlandish to do, so I didn't do it.
Not according to Josep Pedrerol. He is on board with the madness.
Hey.
Yeah, Ramos to Florentino Perez. I am going to listen to offers. Voy a escuchar ofertas.
I am going to listen to offers.
Man, I guess Sergio Ramos. That's great. I felt abandoned. I think both you and Jose Angel Sanchez want me to go from Real Madrid.
That sounds like a New York Post backstage.
It does. That's what this show is all about.
I felt abandoned. Yeah, there's a back page.
What else is there? I'm going to see what else he's got. This is crazy. I guess they had some big meeting and somebody leaked all the information. People are going nuts right now.
Hey, how long can you keep, if you are Real Madrid, if you're Barcelona, you can talk about how great the players were, but at some point you have to talk about what happens when they're gone. And the teams that do that put themselves in a better position long. And for too long, he's a great player. He's a great player. But Ramos has controlled too much of that organization for too long. And it's time to start thinking about moving on from him. And it's the same conversation that Barcelona needs to have with Messi. One of the greatest of all time. Payroll's absurd. It'd be time to move on from him. And if they can put those two together on some sort of super team down in Paris, that's must-see TV.
People are like picking sides. This is hilarious. Go ahead, Jared.
Counterpoint. You put that team together and don't win Champions League.
Oh, you are forever clowned. That's Ringling Brothers.
Yeah.
All going to make like the late 90s Mets teams where they brought in Jeremy Burnett and
Howard
and
Johnson.
Vaughn, and brought in all those big names and nothing happened.
Yep.
People are bringing up... so there's a couple of things about the offers, reportedly. Reportedly, Real Madrid offered Ramos basically another year at the same salary, or 2 years at a reduced salary. Those are the two offers that I've seen linked to Sergio Ramos at this point. Mm-hmm. And he has said no, I guess, to both. And he has this summit with Florentino Perez, the president of Real Madrid. And the people who are pro-Ramos in this conversation, and a lot of this is again, El Chiringuito TV, The pro Ramos side is saying, you are a tiger. You are the man. We love you. You've done everything. The anti-Ramos side is bringing up quotes from May 30th of 2019 where Sergio Ramos said that he would play for free for Real Madrid. And he wanted to retire there. And there's that. So this is going to get ugly. If this continues, this is going to get really ugly. I mean, people are saying the treatment to Sergio Ramos is indignant.
How old is Sergio Ramos again?
34?
34, I think.
Okay.
Ramos is dead at Real Madrid. He is going to cry if he leaves, and he will never be as happy here.
Good. So the San Francisco 49ers had, at the time, was considered the greatest of all time in Joe Montana. And Joe started getting up there in years, and the 49ers, looking ahead, said, you know what? Whether it gets them mad or not, we are going to start building a replacement. And they went ahead and they drafted this little guy named Steve Young. And, well, they went on to win another title and because they prepared properly. If you do these things, you can achieve success down the road long term. If you don't prepare properly, you can go the way of the Bulls. You can go the way of the Mets. You can go the way of a lot of organizations that don't really prep for that kind of future because you keep hanging on to these stars for too long. The Yankees, you can hang on to the stars for too long, and you get bupkis for it. And they're a legend. They're a legend. Yes, they're a legend. They're also human, and they're aging, and Father Time's undefeated. And what is going to happen when you have these players under contract and the returns aren't quite coming back like you expect? Then all of a sudden with 2020 vision, you look back and say, oh, man, we should have got rid of him 2 years ago. Yeah, you should have, but you didn't. Instead, you kept offering these crazy contracts that kept your payroll bloated. Instead of letting some other idiot dig deep in the pockets, or in PSG's case, like just take like 0.25% of their total earnings and sprinkle it this player. And let them, because Jarrett's right. What if they assembled a super team and it becomes like and they achieve nothing? That's not your problem. That's PSG's problem. If these guys fall off a cliff, you have to prepare for the future.
I think what has added to this, and where I would maybe disagree, is
we're disagreeing on a lot tonight.
Yeah, it
Jason.
happens sometimes. You have to prepare for the future, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
By signing David Alaba? That's preparing for the future? You're going to sign him instead of Sergio Ramos?
No, that is a Band-Aid.
That's what you did. By all accounts, David Alaba will be joining Real Madrid in the summer for free. And now you get the bomba on Sergio Ramos.
Then you have a manager who understands the talent that's coming in, does not equal one of the all-time greats, and there's not a whole load of all-time greats just sitting around, but you've got to start building. And so you trust your manager. I know this is really crazy in today's world. You trust your manager to build something great. And if your manager can't build something great, then by golly, you go out and you find another one.
Well, yeah. And they are, in terms of building, there is a link to Pau Torres, and reportedly the rumors in Marca, which is based in Madrid, say that is not connected to the Ramos deal in the future at the club. I think the Alaba one is. I mean, you're not going to have David Alaba and Sergio Ramos.
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense.
No.
So if you're going to move on
but you solve two problems. You solve two problems. You're having less payroll, and you're regaining control of your club. You're regaining control of your locker room.
That's the issue. Yeah, and I mean, it's not like they've been poor, so I don't know if that's really a problem.
No, yeah.
If you're deciding that you want to regain control, maybe you're screwing that up. Maybe you should have let him keep control if you got 3 Champions League trophies out of it, and I don't know how many La Ligas you got under his time.
That's what was. That's what
you just got a La Liga.
You didn't win the last one.
You won the last La Liga.
La Liga. You think La Liga means anything to Real Madrid at this point?
Yeah, it does.
Champions
No, it
League,
still
baby.
does. No.
Champions.
That's not true. The La Liga still means a ton.
Anytime you can be better than Barcelona and get a title.
Yeah.
No, but
Champions
Barcelona's
League
in the
is
middle of a
huge.
rebuild.
Champions League
Barcelona's in the middle of a rebuild. If you can take advantage of your opponents at this time and retool yourself, because Barcelona is, and I heard the term. I heard the term on 92.9 today, and it's very true. Refitting at sea is completely different than dry dock. And Barcelona needs dry dock. That's where you pull the ship into port, you drain all the water around it, and you do a complete overhaul of the ship. You can do retrofit at sea. The ship is perfectly A-OK.
It's where you get Chip and Joanna to help you out to build the new home.
Yeah, but refitting at sea is where you can go ahead and you make tweaks and updates and repairs, and you keep moving. And I think Real Madrid's in that state right now. They can do that and be fine.
Here's the thing. I'm calling for this tonight, which makes me sick.
Oh!
All right.
Whoa!
Here's the deal.
What just happened?
Yeah.
Black
The reason
helicopter
this
himself.
bubbled up tonight is because of those reports earlier about David Alaba. Why?
Yeah.
Because David Alaba reportedly, and thank you for pulling up the number, Bernd. I knew it was a lot. I couldn't remember what it was. David Alaba reportedly, and this is why he's not going to stick around at Bayern Munich, $25 million a year. That's what he wants. That's a lot more than Sergio Ramos has been getting.
Yeah.
If that's done, and Sergio Ramos is like, well, yo, what? You haven't come to me with a legitimate offer after everything I've done for you, and you went and you got this guy? Yeah, it's time to stop dropping some bombs. Here we go.
Yeah.
That's going to be a bad move, because here's what I think is going to happen.
Okay.
Barca's got their problems, yes. Real Madrid might be a little arrogant and think, oh, we can coast right now. We can do whatever. We can, reload, retool, whatever you want to call it. We can do all that and be just fine. Problem is, the team that's going to dominate La Liga is the other team in Madrid. It's going to be the other team in Madrid that really takes advantage of this. They're the ones that are going to gain from Real Madrid being stupid and getting rid of their leader, their emotional leader, their heart and their soul, and Barcelona not knowing how to balance a checkbook. Atleti's going to be the ones.
If you're the dude off to the side in a three-way dance, you're going to let those other two go at each other, and you're just going to sit there and you're going to go, "Yep, all right, you guys do your thing. We'll be all right. You just do your stuff, and then you just go about your business and pass them both."
And right now, they're doing great. I think they're going to be just fine.
How long do you keep Ramos around?
Well, I think he's probably got 2 years. I think you keep him for those 2 years. Like that's the thing that I think, I'm with you in terms of sometimes guys get past their expiration date. You got to move on. I think some of these kinds of clubs and some of these kinds of players are just different. And you run a big, big risk of doing it too soon. And Ramos isn't your average, just good player. He's everything to that team. We've seen it this year. When he was out, they looked like boys. When he showed back up, they walked through the door like Conor McGregor. Like, they have a swagger with him. He is that, and he's still performing. It's not like he's, not holding up his end of the bargain either. He's still performing. Of course, you've got to make a decision. I mean, if he's wanting 3 years, there comes a point where you can't do it. I don't know if that's what he wants. So the reports that I heard about PSG offers were 2 years. 2 years, I'd absolutely do it. And I think you kind of owe him that. And I know you don't want to do contracts on owing somebody that. But when he's that much of the guts of the team and the club, you run a big risk if you get it wrong. If you get it wrong and you do it too soon, you've lost a lot more than you can quantify. And David Alaba is not going to come in and replace Sergio Ramos in terms of all the intangibles of what he brings. There's no way.
Hey, Gianluigi Buffon is the greatest goalkeeper, in my opinion, that's ever walked the face of the earth. And Juventus said, we got to get rid of him. It's time to move on. He's getting up there. We're putting Szczesny in. We're making the call. And Juve hasn't really missed a beat. They replaced a legend.
It's a legend. This is different. This is more than a legend.
He's the heart and soul of the team. He was the heart and soul of that Juventus team.
It's different. I really think it's different. I mean, you could have said the same about Iker Casillas. And Jose Mourinho had the balls to come in and say, no, he's slipping. I'm going to play Keylor Navas. And it was the right call.
It was the right call.
And then when Zidane stuck with Navas, I mean, Navas was the right guy. It was the right call. I think Jose, actually, it wasn't Navas. It was, I can't remember who he played instead of Casillas. But he got it right. Casillas was slipping.
But I think it's
this is different.
There comes a time you got to move someone on.
I don't know.
It's unfortunate.
I just don't think it's that time. I don't think David Alaba is the guy to replace it. Not for that kind of money and what you're expecting. I don't buy it.
We can agree on that. We can agree.
Yeah, and that's I think the explosion part of this is like if I'm Sergio Ramos and I'm expecting to get a legit offer from the club that I've done everything in my life for. I know he started at Sevilla, but he is Real Madrid through and through.
Right.
And I'm like, wait a minute, I still haven't gotten an offer that I think is legit, and you're going out and getting this guy? Like, you're not signing both of us. So you're not going to tell me anything? Okay, cool. Hey, by the way, Florentino, PSG wants me to come, and they're going to get Messi too, and we're gonna be good. What you like about that, huh? What you think? What you think, buddy?
If you're getting Messi out of the league that my team's in, yeah, I'm okay with that. Have fun.
Barca doesn't matter at this point to them. It's Atleti's their problem in the league, and they're not going to win the Champions League without Sergio Ramos.
We believe that as outsiders.
They'll have to beat Atleti. I mean, don't get me wrong. Atleti's still going to have to take care of business and all that. I know, but
right,
like I think it's a bad move. I think it's going to come back to hurt Real Madrid if they go down this road. We'll compare notes.
Because to help in your point, Milan never fully replaced Pirlo when they thought he was washed.
You can do it too soon.
They thought Pirlo was washed, and they let him go, and they never. I think they're just now recovered from that.
You can do it too soon. It's going to be interesting to see, but if this is where things are right now, it's going to kick up a whole another couple of notches as this month goes on, and Sergio Ramos and Lionel Messi and Neymar and Kylian Mbappe. All in Paris with Pochettino next year. Man, that's going to be fun. I am looking forward to that if that's what we get. All right.
Fun's an interesting word to use here.
Well, it's going to be fun to watch, but I wouldn't want to be Pochettino. That's a lot to deal with. And that's a lot of pressure.
A lot of circus to manage.
Yeah, that's a lot.
Hey, no, he took that himself.
He did.
He took that himself. I have no sympathy for that man. He took the job.
He did. I wouldn't, but he did. No, he's got that opportunity. We'll see. All right, we got before we run through one more time, checking to see if Reddit blows up about anything else or if El Chiringuito TV drops more bombas.
Is the Twitch pitch saying anything crazy?
The Twitch pitch has been getting into it. David Alaba has a bad, crazy agent, according to Burned. Gustavo says he is a pain in the ass. If he can pull $25 million for his guy, then he's crazy like a fox. Man, we'll see.
Give me his number.
Seriously, I don't know. We'll see what happens. Copa Libertadores, big time semifinals this week. It starts tomorrow. You can watch these on BN Sports. You can watch them on Fanatis, fntz.co/soccer down here. Thank you for all the people who have used that link to subscribe to get your free trial. It's been very, very good, and they are very, very happy with being an affiliate with us, so that's been pretty sweet. River hosts Palmeiras. Boca hosts Santos on Wednesday. River and Boca are coming off of a 2-2 draw where Boca probably feels a little bit better about it because they came back with 10 men. They got the point at home. River's going to feel like things got away from them. River's got some questions defensively about the goals they gave up. River has had more success in this competition than Boca. There is a course for a Super Classico final that would be in Rio at the end of the month. They got to get through Palmeiras and Santos to get there. So River and Palmeiras. This is the first match. John, do you have odds in front of you?
Why, yes, I do.
All right, what are the odds for the match tomorrow, River and Palmeiras in Buenos Aires?
River's a -114. Palmeiras a +343 in the aggregate, courtesy of our friends at Odds Portal. And your draw is a +230.
Okay. River comes into this having not lost in a long time. You are going back to, man, I got to find another way to look back because all the way back to November 24th, they have not lost. They've had some draws mixed in. They have not lost. Palmeiras is currently on a 2 wins, 1 draw, 1 loss in their last 4. They had a draw in the Copa do Brasil. Did they go through in that, or did that go to penalties? What did that look like? That ended 1-1. Then they had a loss in the league. Head-to-head, I don't think they've played in a while. So Palmeiras is a big underdog on the road. River, draw, win, draw. I don't think River loses. I don't know if they win, but I don't think they lose.
Yeah.
I'm gonna lean win for River, but I think it's gonna be really, really close. Really close. I think they're gonna have to fight for it. I would
rather touch those draw numbers personally if I'm going to take anything.
I think the draw is going to be in the second leg. I think River will get the win at home, and then they'll do what they have to do on the road. Let's look at Palmeiras on the road. 1 win, 1 loss, 2 draws in their last 4 on the road. I think River gets the win. I think it's like a 2-1.
Yeah, I go River win.
You're going draw, Jarrett? You sticking with that?
Yeah, I think I am taking that. I'll take draw on this leg, and then we get bonkers in the second leg.
Ooh, if it's a draw going into the second leg in Brazil, yeah, you're getting absolutely bonkers. If it's close second leg in Brazil, you're getting bonkers. There's just no way around it. Nick, what are you thinking? River at home against Palmeiras tomorrow.
River 2-1.
That's where I'm at too.
That's a safe bet. I want South American chaos between Argentina and Brazil. I want to have to move that game to like Panama for the second leg.
There's not going to be any fans.
That's not going to stop them outside the stadium.
Well, that's true. That's pretty true. Rafael Veiga is the most informed player for Palmeiras this season. He's got 8 goals in the Brasileiro. He's been their highest rated player so far this season on the Palmeiras side. River, a lot of people watched the Super Classico on the weekend. They look really good, but they have these times where it's almost like it switches off. And that's what I can't quite figure out about where River is at this point. It just feels like you have these moments where they just lose their head. And it's kind of strange for a team that is as good as they are, for a team that has just done as much as them. This is a team with, in recent years, multiple Copa Libertadores. They did blow the lead in the league on the last day, last season, last March. They have a shot to go into the final of the Copa Diego Armando Maradona, and we talked about it this morning. Boca would love to have that trophy more than anything. River would probably be the other team that would love it because they would love to take that away from Boca and put that in their trophy case. For River, Ignacio Fernandez has been their best player in the current season. Nicolas de la Cruz is definitely one to watch. There are some reports that Jorge Carrascal is starting to get some transfer buzz, and maybe we see a move there. So River, Palmeiras tomorrow. Boca and Santos on Wednesday. John, what are the numbers for that one?
Boca, minus 156. Santos, a plus 463. And your draw is a plus 275.
Wow. Not a lot of love for Santos. Is it because Pele's being kind of a jerk again? Actually, Pele's being a jerk for the first time. He changed his Instagram bio to say, scored 1,200 goals. And come on, man. Why are we doing this nonsense? Go ahead, Nick.
Why not? Why not? If I'm Pele, I am coming out of retirement right now. I am going to be playing.
You're going to go all Gordie Howe on somebody?
Yes. I'm going to take any league humanly available that wants me to come play. If I'm Pele, I will come out there. I will I don't care if it's a U8 recreational game. I'm counting those goals.
So you're moving the decimal point in Pele's birth certificate?
Don't even care. Don't even care. Give me all the goals. Look, we talked about this last week. Come on. This is what
Santos
happens.
clowns. Pele's being a clown now, too. It's very disappointing.
Yes.
The reason why Santos is not very well beloved by the odds makers are they've only
Carlos
got
Ruiz to input on this because I'm sure he's got like way more goals
I
that
know
have never been officially counted in any human being alive.
Santos has only got one win since December 1st. That's the problem. They lost to Liga de Quito in Libertadores play. They drew with Palmeiras. They drew with Gremio. They lost 4-1 to Flamengo on December 13th. They beat Gremio in Libertadores 4-1. They lost to Vasco 1-0 on the 20th. And they drew with Ceará on the 27th. They're coming in very bad form. Boca should handle this. Oh, Badger's right. That's what Pele did. Pele counted the goals from the movie Victory. That's what he added to his total. That's right.
Oh, wow.
And probably from the movie Hot Shot as well, too. Well, maybe they can count double.
His bid for freedom.
He counted the goals that like he did in practice for the movie Hot Shot in the 80s, too. I think it was Hot Shots. Can't remember. It was really bad.
He should count those as well.
No.
Earned it.
No. It's
Ball goes in the net, count it.
Clown. Absolute clown. Pele, you're better than that. Don't be that guy. Somebody at Santos grabbed Pele's phone and changed his Instagram bio. That's what they did. Boca wins.
He's got to make his money. Look, the real estate in New York for the store that Doug was talking about. You didn't know what it was. That's expensive real estate. It's expensive real estate, man.
It's true. Boca gets the job done here, though. And it has nothing to do with Pele or nothing to do with Santos being clowns about that whole thing. It has to do with Boca is a really difficult team to beat. And Carlos Tevez is a man possessed right now. He's flat out a man possessed. I think everything is about winning the Libertadores, and he's going to not allow them to lose yet. I think they win this. I think they win in Brazil next week.
So, Nick, what do you think? Jarrett?
Jarrett, go ahead.
I got 2-0, by the way. 2-0 for me.
2-0? All right.
Give me 3-0, and we're done. Boca rolls. And even though I predict a draw in the first leg of the River match, I think River ends up winning in Brazil in just total insanity. And we end up with another Thunderdome by the time it's all said and done. River's road will be much rougher and more fraught with peril and landmines and possibly like shivs. But I think we get a River Boca final again because that will be all really want.
Yes.
That's what it's looking towards.
It's going to be 3-1 Boca. And our boy Carlos is going to put in 2 of them.
There you go.
I'm good with this. Nick?
Yeah.
Or sorry, John. You haven't given yours.
No, I was in line with the Velvet Driving Slipper Lock of the Week 2-1 Boca as well.
Okay, 2-1. All right. I'm looking to see if El Chiringuito TV is going nuts still. Probably. I think that show goes for like 5 hours, and they start their own hashtags. It's Chiringuito Ramos.
Hey,
we don't do that. We don't have somebody to do that for us. We need somebody to like do all the clips like they do.
Well, Mateo's on Twitter. He's got to do the stuff, doesn't he?
Look, John, I'm gonna give you a little peek behind the curtain. You know, there's no Mateo over there doing that. It doesn't happen. It's not real. Like
kayfabe's dead.
It's not happening. I mean,
you might as well have just told him that Santa Claus doesn't exist.
I told him that 2 weeks ago, Jared. I told him that 2 weeks ago.
Jared.
I mean,
Jared.
El Chiringuito TV has posted about this Sergio Ramos thing. No, it's not. We need somebody to do what they're doing for El Chiringuito TV because they have posted 27 minutes ago to go into, I guess, their final segment. Then 30 minutes ago, 33 minutes ago with screenshots, 41 minutes ago with video, lots of emojis too, lots of all caps as well.
Wow.
Sergio Ramos felt abandoned, like all this
Felt
stuff.
abandoned.
I mean, Mateo can't do all that. It's not possible. Like they've posted just during the last hour of this show in the Ramos section, at least 15 posts, complete with a tiger emoji when the guy was telling Sergio Ramos he was great. Madness.
You need the voiceover guy. Sergio Ramos felt abandoned.
I wonder if they do have the voiceover guy.
The PAC, the Political Action Committee ad.
I'll bet you they do.
Or Cutler.
See, they do the really cool. No, we don't. No, we don't want that one. We don't want that one at all. They do the really good like split screen where it's like faded between them, and they'll like cut between different people, and they've got like a video behind it. I mean, it feels like you're watching a show like set in the food court at a mall, like talent show.
Oh, that's
It's got like scrolls going here. It's got tombstones down at the bottom with a different scroll.
So it's like the Bad Day video from REM.
On crack, yes. That video on crack rock, yes.
Wow.
That's this show. It's amazing. It's incredible.
Wow.
Between that, like, we need to be between this show and the show Programa Sin Nombre on TIC, where they go completely insane. Like, it's completely off the rails.
Right.
Like
We're not there yet.
No, occasionally we get there.
We're not there yet.
Occasionally we get into that realm, but no, we don't have like a fence where you've got the Boca fan outside the fence like chanting during the show. We don't have that kind of stuff.
Have rattling the cage.
Yeah.
Attica.
Yeah, we don't have that.
Don't come to my house and do that. I'm just letting you know because that's not advantageous for health and safety.
Gustavo wants to watch me in an Argentine soccer show yelling at different journalists, former players, former coaches, and agents.
Pretty epic.
I don't know.
That'd be pretty good.
I don't know about that. I don't know. I might get something bashed over my head.
No, we just need to do it here. We'll do it here as the dry run.
Well, I already did that earlier when I was yelling at you.
Well, yeah. So basically every week.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Today I was yelling at Nick some.
I give it right back.
I was disagreeing.
And we give it right back. That's the difference. We give it right back. You know?
Yeah. It was a good debate. It was a good debate.
Temas y debates.
Yes.
My shirt didn't come off, so it's not a complete. It's not a complete Argentine.
You didn't make a claim that if something happened that you would leave the show in a month.
Correct.
Then they had to
spike the headset.
Walk the guy out.
Just the white screen.
Yeah, old Gringo. Yeah. He found his way back in, though. It's all good.
He did.
Jason Nix with a question. If you haven't talked about it already, what is going on with Brian Reynolds? Juventus is saying they don't have a deal with him in Dallas. Was their Christmas bonus less than expected, and now they can't buy him? It did get weird. Like, there was a post from Third Degree out of Texas where they said that Brian Reynolds said the deal was done with Juventus, and then they had to pull that because Brian Reynolds said that I didn't say that. The Hunt family said that wasn't official, and then it turned out that it was Brian Reynolds' dad who was talking to them and said that he misrepresented something that had been said, so the deal wasn't done, and it got all confusing. Mm-hmm. I believe that Roma's still in the mix for Brian Reynolds. I don't think they've given up on that. And, John, who else is in the mix for Brian Reynolds?
They're over your left shoulder there.
I don't think anybody cares about that. Who is
those who are
just John? Or else it doesn't.
For those, well, Jarrett, you want to go ahead and do it this week?
No, that's not how it works.
This is like a cover band doing a song when the actual original artist is there. It's an insult to the original artist, and I would not insult you in such a way.
Bruga!
Yeah, they're still in the mix.
Ha ha!
I gave it to
That
you.
might be the closest we get to a Thought You Say show.
I gave it to you. I could have just left them out of the conversation. I gave it to you there.
No, but I mean, whenever that happens and everything just falls apart at the seams.
No, now it's just there. Like it just happens. It's like when Bozo the Clown would come dancing out after somebody missed the ping pong ball thing. I mean, it happens. It's part of the show. Yeah,
you missed the ping pong.
They'll always do something where John has to mention them.
Doink.
Oh, look, here's the thing about the Reynolds deal.
Yeah, what's up?
There's there's moving parts to this, which could complicate it, right? So you have Cagliari involved with a loan to them, and then so you have.
Does he have to pass an Italian exam too?
Only if he's trying to get Italian dual citizenship through marriage, then he would be required to get that. Roma could be a very good option because Dan Friedkin, the owner of the team, the CEO of Gulf States Toyota Distributors, which includes Texas, Louisiana. Gosh, where else? Let's see, a couple of like all the Gulf states there, so Oklahoma and Mississippi. So he's somebody who probably wouldn't mind necessarily bringing in somebody from that neck of the woods that he could then tie back to his businesses. So if you're trying to find more evidence to lead toward Roma, that would be the first thing that I would look at. Also, keep in mind that Roma's getting ready to start their deal with New Balance. Oh my God, I don't know why they're doing that. The Nike kits were incredible.
Yeah, why? No. Maybe
everyone
money.
who's gone to New Balance has either gone away from it or their fans are clamoring for them too.
Yep. And so, yes. So
like the Joma kits.
There's a lot of reasons why you would want to bring a new American face to your American-owned club, to especially a player from the region in which you are heavily invested. So keep an eye on that one. There just seems to be a few too many moving parts on the Juve deal. In Italy, nothing goes smoothly. So add more than like point A to point B, it starts getting a little out of whack. So
hey, this one's weird.
I think he can go though. I don't think it's not about him not being able to go. It's just a matter of them getting the deal done.
I have a question for you, Nick. Now that I'm seeing something that has popped up.
Okay.
Antonio Cassano. Give me your impression of Antonio Cassano.
He's a madman. Probably one of the most physically gifted players to ever play the game. Had he been able to put mind and body together, he probably would have been mentioned in the same breath as some of the greater names come out of Italy. But he's not exactly known for making intelligent, well thought out choices, and by his own admission.
Why does he really not like Paulo Dybala?
Is there an issue with a wife and or girlfriend involved
I don't
here?
know.
I mean,
like I saw a quote. And if you love the Italian game, I recommend Italian Football TV. They're IFTV official on Twitter. They're on Twitch. Their watch parties, watching games are very fun. They go completely nuts. They have quoted it, and I'm trying to find the source of it. I was skeptical of it until I just did a search for Cassano and Dybala. And this is not the first time that he has trashed Paulo Dybala. He seems to do it on a regular basis. I don't know why. His quote that has now been attributed to him is, "The impression I get is that when the pressure is on, Dybala issues himself." That's what he said.
Okay.
In 2018, Cassano said that comparing Dybala with Messi is a joke, which that's fine. Yeah. In 2019, Cassano said Juve can't win with Dybala. December 5th, he gave a scathing assessment of Dybala, but he doesn't seem like a champion to me like everyone says. Man, like, why is he always jumping down Dybala's throat?
Who compares Dybala to Messi other than maybe Dybala's mother?
It was probably going into the World Cup in 2018, I'll bet. He said the thing that he won't be like Messi in 2017 too. Like, what?
Yeah, well, I mean, look, let's keep in mind here that, again, Cassano is a guy who he makes some decent take, but he can be a bit of a hot take artist. I have to throw out there that Dybala has not only been limited to Juve. He came through Palermo, along with, and think about this, Cavani came through Palermo as well. So if you start thinking of all the talent that's come through Palermo over the years, it's absolutely ridiculous. But Paulo Dybala is a known quantity in Italy. So it wouldn't be the first time that you've had, someone like Cassano, who's now a pundit, getting eyes on Dybala.
I was going to ask you what he was
assessments.
doing these days, because I wasn't sure where all these are coming from.
Yeah, he's a pundit. I'm trying to remember for who. I don't remember specifically who he's. I don't know if it's like 7 Gold or RAI or whatever, but he's a pundit for somebody, and it's.
He loves Messi.
Oh, that's great. I'm glad
he loves Messi.
But,
he said Messi's someone we'll never see again. He labeled Cristiano Ronaldo a manufactured talent.
Nah.
He compared Messi to Roger Federer, Michael Jordan, and Diego Maradona. Cristiano Ronaldo is a manufactured talent. You notice it on social networks where you see him doing sit-ups with his children. There's so much talk about him, less about Messi, but in football they are two completely different things. CR7 is very strong, but he's built his talent. Messi, on the other hand, is Federer, Jordan, Maradona. He's something we'll never see again in life. He has immense talent that's a gift from nature. I often hear that Messi played with phenomena at Barcelona, like Xavi and Iniesta, and in the beginning Ronaldinho. But Messi also made players like Pedro, Dani Alves, Mascherano, and others champions. And he said that Ronaldo, all he cares about is scoring goals and doesn't care about the team or contributing assists. Messi makes the team grow, and Messi is Cassano's idol. That's very nice. It's kind of weird, but, like, man.
Not a player who's already retired is your idol? Messi's your idol? Okay.
Maradona,
you couldn't say Diego's my... Okay, all right.
Well, and
sure.
Maybe Cassano paid this guy. Do you know an agent, Beppe Bozzo?
The name sounds familiar.
He claimed...
I'm trying to think of who he represents.
Well, he was Cassano's agent. And, he said in an interview last month, or a few weeks ago, actually, that Cassano was the best Italian player of all time.
There was a moment when he was coming out of body. There was a moment when people were like, this dude's it. Like, this is the guy who is going to, he's going to be the new name in Italian soccer, the guy that everybody goes toward. It's tough because there are so many great Italian talents. But when you saw Cassano at body, you saw a player who was electric with the ball. Immediately when he got a hold of it, he was gone. And it just, head was never put on right. And for whatever reason, anxiety, depression, he just could not put it together. And when he was with Roma, there were shots that he could get there, and it just fell apart. Everywhere he went, he fell apart, and he was on his way to being the greatest Italian player, at least offensive Italian player of all time. And that's a statement. That's not, that's not something you say idly. However, he had the opportunity, and it fell apart. Like, there was just not enough. The road in sports greatness is littered with these guys. Guys who, when you saw them in moments, said, that's it. He's next. And then whenever the big lights came on, whatever it was, it fell apart. And so it's unfortunate. His career, when you look at it, he had magical moments for the Italian national team, like at the game against Germany, where he made just an obscene turn. He made an obscene turn.
I remember
and then lofted the ball and Balotelli headed it home. It's moments like that that made all of us Azzurri fans go, what could have been? And it just never came to be. And especially when you saw him and Balotelli on the field together, because you saw two guys who were like that. Instead of getting our next instead of getting our next Roberto Baggio, we got a guy who flamed out instead and left with more questions than unfortunately great memories, which is sad.
He wrote a book recently that we might have to dig into because it looks like it's Bentner-esque. There's some stories that we're not going to talk about right now, but there's some stories. Well, I mean, This is a guy who stripped down to his boxers after scoring goals like multiple times. Like this is not nothing new. And there's a story about croissants that's kind of weird.
That's where Ronnie Dyley gets it from.
Yes, it is. So I'm gonna ask you one more thing. This is that Cassano said here recently. He in recent days has trashed Dybala, Ronaldo, Paul Pogba. But he did say this, and I want your take on it, Nick. He said, if Juventus don't beat Milan, they're out of the Scudetto race.
Yes. They're 10 points back as it is.
So it is last chance saloon.
For this Juve team, yes. I don't think they are consistent enough to erase the deficit. But the challenge is not going to be keeping up with Milan. The challenge is going to be keeping up with Inter because Inter can keep grinding out these games. And I mean, they're 1 point off of Milan. I think they can, Milan, I think will have a draw here or a draw there that they maybe shouldn't get. The absence of Tonali because of the stupid red card is that's a growing moment for him, but something that's going to set us back potentially. Yeah, if Juve loses to Milan, it's a wrap. I'll agree with Cassano on that one.
Makes sense looking at it. That game's coming up this weekend. That's going to be bonkers.
Yes, it will be. And there are a lot of people who were thinking that, Pirlo's the shine has worn off on Pirlo domestically. And there's no one's calling for his head, but I think expectations are a bit more realistic for Juve supporters and understanding that we're in the middle of doing something. The fact that we're still competitive while doing a rebuild is very impressive, but maybe he's not so much of a genius that he can orchestrate a rebuild and get another Scudetto at the same time. I don't think that's. I think that's when I say the shine's worn off. I think that's where they are. They're not at the, at the idea of fire him and bring in someone else. I don't think they're there yet.
I'm going to let you guys do your own research on Antonio Cassano's book and stories that he's told. You guys can have fun with that.
Because I was looking up
not
Cassano.
Feeling that one there?
No, well, I was looking up Cassano while you guys were talking about him, and the second search heading for Cassano, Cassano hates Dybala. That literally was the second default search heading.
Yeah, it was crazy. Like, looking back, just typing in Cassano and Dybala, and like, okay, last year, okay, 2 years ago, 3 years ago. What is the deal? Man, just consistently ripping the kid.
Yeah, hey. Like I said, Dybala's a guy who's been around the Italian game for a while. He's nothing new. He's a guy who he's a good-looking guy who can play, and that automatically means that you're going to get a certain amount of slings and arrows pointed in your direction. The challenge was, again, under Allegri, he was being asked to do things that moved him away from a goal-scoring position. Because with Allegri, it was all hands on deck with defense. You had to drop back and help defend. That changed with Maurizio Sarri, and you saw a resurgence in Dybala's career. But there are those who that paintbrush left a pretty strong mark, and there are people who feel like he did pout and he did sulk, and that didn't help him. So Cassano can say whatever he wants to. He knows what his reputation in Italy is, and he knows that he was supposed to be the next guy. He had Bari, Roma, Real Madrid, and then he came and did like tour to Italy after that. So he could be a bit of a hot take artist. I'm not completely in agreement with him. I think Dybala has done perfectly fine at Juve. I think it's time for him to move on from Juventus. If Messi doesn't go to Juve, or to PSG rather, I wouldn't mind seeing Paulo Dybala go there. I think that'd be, playing for
everybody
Pochettino.
goes to PSG.
Everybody.
Yeah, why not?
becomes the
Everybody got the money
It's
for
seeming
it.
that
Good
way.
Lord.
It's
Get it
seeming
done.
that way.
Yeah, let me see. Yeah, Bari, Roma, Real Madrid, then Sampdoria, Milan, Inter, Parma, Sampdoria again, and Verona.
Man, everywhere.
I mean, yeah, he was. Cassano is a dude who there were so many. It's hard to put into words because when you get told you're the next Roberto Baggio, and I know for all the people in America, they remember Baggio skying the penalty in the World Cup. But for a while, Roberto Baggio was the man in Italy. And yes, there's the terrible transfer from Fiorentina to Juventus, which caused riots in the streets of Florence. But for literally everyone, I have like an old knockoff Bologna Roberto Baggio stashed somewhere in here that my great uncle gave me, and he's now known as Italy's player. No matter which team you support, there's a time when Roberto Baggio probably wore, if you were in Serie A, he probably wore your kit. And so I think Cassano wanted that for himself to be known as Italy's player. Right. I think that there was an idea that he could have been that guy, and for him not to achieve it is one of the great travesties of the Italian game, because there was so much hope pinned on him. And I think that really the Real Madrid stint broke him. The pressures of Real Madrid, that locker room, for a guy who was already a little unstable, it just completely finished him off. Much in the same way, I think that Mario Balotelli's move from Italy just completely shattered the psyche. So,
all right, we're going to finish where we started this morning. Mr. Lampard at Chelsea. Couple rumors that are already in the Tuesday papers in London. We're going to combine two reports because there are 5 people being linked to the Chelsea job if they don't give Lampard more time. Tuchel and Max Allegri are the main two. No surprises there. Le Ten Sport is reporting that Andrei Shevchenko, who is currently in charge of the Ukraine national team, is being considered as a replacement. Longtime favorite of Abramovich. Brought him there when Mourinho didn't want him. Okay, not a shock. Guy who had a very good day today, Ralph Hasenhüttl, linked to the job by The Independent. And, Jarrett, I'm going to give you the final word. Brendan Rodgers.
He's just going to be linked to everything. And why wouldn't he be? He's shown you before that he'll take that move. And I will say the same thing to you right now that I said about the Arsenal job. It doesn't matter to me where Leicester is. If he gets asked to rescue a basic club, he's going to take it and he's going to try and do it. I don't know if he takes it in the middle of the night or if he takes it after the season, but if someone says, come rescue and come restore the glory of a Big Six club, I don't think he can resist that, especially after the way he left Liverpool. He left in a bit of disgrace, put together an invincible season in Glasgow, and really set Celtic on their way. And then what he has done at Leicester has been incredibly impressive. Mm-hmm. The allure to take one of those clubs, you want to like bring it to in a way like you can understand in America. How about this? It's like college football. If someone says, "I want you to take over a Notre Dame, a Texas, an Alabama, a Michigan, a classic power that has staying power, that has a name to restore glory and immortalize yourself."
So let me ask both of you this, because John and I talked about it this morning quickly. How much rope should Chelsea give Frank Lampard? Because it's not looking good at the moment, and it's been
they've already given him enough to hang himself with. So
you think it's to that point?
Man, can he get through the next 2 weeks?
Here's what he's got coming up, so you know, because I zeroed in, and what's wild is that now Rodgers' name comes up because I think Rodgers could be the guy that pushes Lampard out the door. They've got FA Cup this weekend against Markham. They host, or they go to Fulham on the 15th. Those should be 2 wins, no problem. They go to Leicester on the 19th. That's the one that it feels like if he doesn't win, he might be in trouble. Because after that, they host Wolves, they host Burnley, then they go to Tottenham, they go to Sheffield, they host Newcastle, they go to Southampton. It's kind of up and down going into the Champions League against Atleti. I wonder if he doesn't get the result against Leicester, that would give him about a month. That would give Abramovich about a month. I wonder if they pull the trigger, especially if Rodgers beats him.
So here's the thing about that. A couple of years ago, the Atlanta Hawks were in a bad way. They were on the back end of that 2015 January Hawks team that was so great that captured our hearts and souls. And they got a really favorable schedule in December, I guess it was, or January, that set them in really good shape. They got a really favorable schedule. Everyone was wondering if the Hawks were going to blow it up in the middle of the season and start at least a retooling, if not a rebuild. And they rolled off I think they rolled off, it was like 7 of 10 or something. Really impressive. But they weren't playing great teams. Competition was weak. And the record outshined the actual quality of the team that was doing the winning. Even if he gets through Leicester, and you start looking at the teams that are coming up next for them, just because he starts rattle off 3 points against a Sheffield Wednesday, that doesn't mean the problem's fixed, is where I'm going with this.
Nick, what do you think? I don't know what John's doing. I have no idea.
What's in the box?
Did Brendan Rodgers send you a gift?
No. It's our boys from Shakhtar.
Do you have a standing order with Shakhtar?
Pretty much once every Christmas.
It's after Christmas.
I'm aware of this fact, sir.
Eh?
The post office isn't, but
no, that is the accurate assessment here, sir.
Fair enough.
Yeah, I think that Chelsea is not a team with a definitive style on the field, but they have a definitive style about the front office, and that is if you are not in a position to win, you're out the door. And they are not in position to make Champions League at this point. And they are not in position they're not in position to make Europa League at this point. So how is that position tenable for Roman Abramovich? It's not. For any other ownership group, they may be able to take that year. There's no way in the world though that Roman Abramovich is going to sit by and allow this to happen. He's got to go. And I don't like calling for people. I know I talk a lot of trash. I do not believe in calling for people's jobs. I really don't like doing that. But based on Roman Abramovich's history, it's going to happen.
Is it 14 managers in his ownership?
Oh, God.
Sounds like
something to that effect.
Based off his history, based off how much he spent this summer on the squad, it's I don't know. I don't think Frank's got that much more time. He hasn't built anything yet, and he's had the time to build something, and it's not good enough. We'll see. That Leicester game, that's the one I'm zeroing in on, and if Rodgers is in the mix, and look, it could be Tuchel, it could be Allegri. I still don't know why Max Allegri hasn't been in a big job yet. It feels like it's been too long.
No, I'm telling you, it's because he does not elevate your squad.
That's weird.
He can keep it at a level, but he cannot elevate it. If he can elevate, he has not proven that he can elevate.
Right.
He's only proven that he can step into a better job and keep the machine moving.
Well, that's not a bad spot to be in with Chelsea
right now. You have to improve. What was that?
That's not a bad spot to be in with Chelsea, though. I mean, if he can come in and take a very talented team and just make the parts fit, which is something that just hasn't happened yet.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, I think he'd be a good fit. Tuchel is the one who seems to be the the kind of sexy idea here because he's the best trainer of that batch. Rodgers would be the really interesting one if you make that decision after the Leicester game. I wonder if they throw a lot of money at him and he skips down.
Oh, I'm sure they would. Absolutely.
Hey, look, if the one thing with Tuchel is you've got to get Timo Werner working, and you've got to make Timo Werner.
That's the thing on his side is Kai Havertz and Timo Werner.
Right. If you're talking about a guy who can come in and say, I know how you guys score. It's okay. I know how you guys are best utilized. We're going to start that operation right now. To me, that's if you're looking for the best boom result, it's going to be Tuchel. And I know he's not exactly the friendliest person allegedly in the world.
You're not expecting him to be there very long anyway. It's Chelsea.
Yeah,
like 2 years is a long time.
Yeah, you're only going to be there for a couple of years anyway. So I mean, you can call it good.
Yeah, I think it'll be him, and I think it'll be him before the Champions League match. But look, we all questioned Frank before. He got the defense right before. I thought they looked really unorganized against Manchester City, and he got completely outmanaged by Pep Guardiola, which has happened to many good managers. Lampard feels like he's lost the group, and it just doesn't feel like there's any light at the end of the tunnel. So,
no.
The only guy, Byrne makes a good point, the only guy on Chelsea that Tuchel has actually coached before is Christian Pulisic, which is another thing that might actually help, I would think. I could see the idea being that he could fix the Germans in the team because they've been big disappointments. That's what I'd be willing to bet. That's what the headlines say in London. If it's accurate or not, different story. But I think that'll be the story and that'll be the pitch. I'm wondering more about Rodgers now. I really am. Like that's. So
let's ask this question: what position is Leicester going to be in if they do that? In terms of like where they might be in the table, a chance to like if Liverpool is dropping points, if City takes a minute to turn the engine over, if United drops a result here or there, imagine if he leaves Leicester City when they're like top 3 within like 5 points.
If he beats Southampton in the game before Chelsea and then decides to leave, man.
You thought it was bad when Celtic fans were mad at him for leaving in the middle of the night.
Well, then Leicester would probably try to go get Hasenhüttl, which would be a realistic get for them, and it'd be a step up for him. And you start to see the dominoes just fall all over the league.
I do want to know, and here's one more thing with the Rodgers deal. Does not require a work permit or any sort of complicated visa to get sorted.
Yep.
Now post-Brexit. That's something that must be considered.
Yep, Hasenhüttl wouldn't either. He's another one that would be very helpful for already working in the league. So, that's a good point. That could maybe make it a little more difficult for some of the others. I don't know those situations. That's a really good point. We're going to be talking about this a lot. Like, this is not going to go away with Chelsea until I think that game with Leicester. I think there's going to be a lot riding on that. We'll be talking about all the build-up to all the big games this weekend because there's a lot of big ones. I mean, that Milan-Juve one is one that I'll definitely be zeroed in on. Libertadores the next 2 days. We'll kind of give you on SDH some more information on each of those teams. I'm sure the watch-along room in the Discord will be fired up for those games for sure over the next couple of nights. So hopefully you can join us there. And thanks for subscribing. Thanks for listening. Thanks for being on the Patreon. Thanks for supporting the show. We had over 430,000 downloads and listens last year, which is madness. And I know a lot of you downloaded a lot of stuff, and that is great, but that's a lot of downloads that I did not expect to be seeing. Y'all are crazy. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you for listening to our madness and our ramblings and our silly games.
Yep.
We appreciate it.
Come a long way.
Yeah.
We have. It's almost this month. It is the 4th anniversary of SDH later this month.
Yep. That is correct.
Wow.
Yep. We've been doing this a while.
Mm-hmm.
And we're going to keep doing more because we're crazy.
Yes.
Pretty much.
That's very, very true. Very true.
Send us all,
hopefully
Mick.
Some more outlandish comment. Hey, thank you so much for tuning in. We appreciate it. We'll be right back here next Monday these guys, wherever they are on your screen, are going to be here tomorrow. So make sure you tune in. Appreciate all of you out there. Thank you so much. Casano, man, lay off Paulo Dybala. I get it. He's Juventino, man. But come on. We're better than that. Okay? All right? Thank you. Mucho, mucho euro, y'all.